Sit back and relax while you listen to Train Kickers Podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Stan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On this second episode of the week, we're going to be going through the next legion for Horus Heresy, the Imperial Fists. Our hope is over the next few weeks to at least be able to get to 2 a week, maybe more if we can fit it, but I kind of doubt that with our schedules, so that way we can get through this in a bit more of a timely manner. I started saying this at the beginning rather than at the end, but if you are enjoying our content, we just ask that you either like, subscribe, anything like that, especially on the YouTube channel, where we're currently, I think now we're at about 12% of people who listen who've actually subscribed. I always just thought it was a joke until going through it more, I find out how important it really is. Our hope is shortly to be able to do some other content as well, but we're going to keep getting at this until we can get through all these different legions. And now, on to the show. All right, and for our second recording this week, 2 days after the last one, we are going to continue going through the different legions for Horus Heresy. In particular, tonight we're on to the 7th Legion, so we're going to be talking about Imperial Fists. For anyone who is the first time they've listened to any of these, we're going to go through everything that is both in the books or GW has released for them, Horus Heresy-wise, though we are skipping Primarchs for the time being. We'll get back to all of those later, as well as Rites of War. If any of them are particularly interesting to us, we might mention them briefly, but just for time's sake, for some of these legions, they're a little bit shorter. We probably could fit them in other legions. We'd be looking at well over 3 hours to do it. We're not trying to talk for that long at this time. So we do plan on going back to be able to discuss those at a later point once we have these done. But all right, why don't we start in on these yellow boys here? Dan, I think you said you were going to talk all about them because they're
Fluff.
Best friends with Custodes.
The Custodes, yeah. Even though the Custodes don't like them, which is kind of hilarious.
Why?
Custodes they don't like any Space Marine Legion. They blame them for the. I mean, let's be honest. They blame them for the heresy, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't trust any Legion, but they're at least close enough with the Imperial Fists. The Imperial Fists are kind of your crusading legion. In fact, for those of you who play 40k, the Black Templars, aka Sigismund, came from the Imperial's Fist. That's after, of course, they split and all that after the Heresy, but just to kind of give you a good idea. The Imperial Fists, of course, have the Primarch Rogel Dorn. I always find that sometimes he's the most contentious of the Primarchs because people either really love him or really hate him. But Rogel Dorn is best known for basically your idea of defense. He is the kind of defensive Primarch. He's almost a genius when it comes to ramparts, defensive fortifications, and just all around defense. I should point out that, side note, Fluff-wise, he's also one of the only ones who would talk with Valdor. None of the Primarchs really talked with Valdor because they kind of saw him as the right-hand man.
Who's Valdor?
Oh, Constantine Valdor. I apologize. Constantine Valdor is the head of the Custodians.
There you go.
Look, I don't want to go into too much side fluff, but Constantine Valdor is essentially a weird one because the spear he owns, every kill he does, the spear injects all the regrets of that person he killed into Valdor. So he's kind of human, but too human. I don't know if that makes any sense.
He's more human than human.
Yeah, it's really weird. And so he's kind of ostracized from the rest of the Custodians, or they seem kind of as not a god, but, a hero that no one talks to. And really, Dorn is the only one that kind of talks with him, which is kind of sad in its own way, but whatever. But Dorn, essentially during Horus's treachery, Dorn Dorn doesn't believe that Horus had a treachery. Was it Garrow?
Yes,
I can't remember
Flight
his
of the
name. Yep, Garrow basically gets to Terra. Warns Dorn that Horus has betrayed the Emperor.
Correct.
Of course, Dorn.
Not correct. He doesn't meet him at Terra. He meets him out where Dorn is.
Oh, that's right.
And through the discussion, Dorn is literally about to kill him. He finally does believe him.
Yes,
and then he sends envoys back to Terra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dorn almost murdered this person. He's a very loyal person, But yeah, no, Rogel Dorn basically essentially constructed the defense of Terra. One of the major reasons why it took so long to break the walls was Dorn. And the only reason the walls broke was Perturabo. So The two of them are at heads, I should point out as well. The almost complete opposites. Even though I think Steve can agree with me here. Do you think they get along, Steve? Because I know Perturabo was big into the arts and construction. I feel like him and Dorn would.
You got it
No?
completely. You got it backwards, actually.
What?
Perturabo was into the arts
Yes.
and construction. Dorn was literally just, I built a sandcastle, father.
Yeah, I built, but that's still artistic. Like,
No.
Yeah.
No, Dorn, his idea of artistic is I'm going to paint it gold and slap an eagle on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's more of his version of artistic is usefulness.
So it's form. It's function over form and beauty. He was much more of a cold and austere person. Like to say, actually, in the main book, they mention there was a lot of talk of him becoming War Master, and the belief is the only reason he might not have gotten it is because he was kind of standoffish in general. Like he wasn't able to be the smooth talker that you might need a War Master to be, and that's why Horus got the job.
The politician that Horus was. Yep. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, that's essentially the Imperial Fists. Also, again, very interesting that the Imperial Fists, of course, after the Heresy, were one of the very first ones to develop the crusading chapters of the Black Templars, which later on became one of the more religious chapters, I want to say. Right? I think I can agree.
They are traitors to the Imperial truth and have no place in the galaxy.
Yeah, yeah. But that being said, yeah, no, that's the. I shall point out that if anyone has ever read the probably I think the best Horus Heresy book, I think is Saturnine. If no one has read it, I highly recommend you read that. If only for the fact that it really gives you a good look at Dorn, the Imperial. It gives you a good look at everyone, but it gives you a good look at Sigismund, Dorn, the Imperial Fist, and also probably one of the best one-liners in the entire series. Where I'm not going to spoil it,
but
essentially Dorn.
If you're not going to spoil it, don't say anything about it.
But probably one of the best one-liners from Dorn. Actually, from a figure in 30K, 40K ever. Cool. But yeah, no, that's them.
Yeah. Legion in general, these guys are in yellow. It is gotten. Some people don't like painting yellow. Yeah, honestly, I don't mind painting yellow. It can honestly be a little bit of a hassle with GW's base paints. It is better now with contrast because you can get a good layer down. Actually, in particular, some of the painters I've watched, they've done it some of their items entirely with contrast, but there's good options there. Otherwise, it's just a lot of what tones you want to start with, depending on the exact shade of yellow and stuff like that. Same thing with oranges. Oranges and yellows can be a little bit tricky.
They released an Imperial Fist Yellow? Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yes. One of them is called Imperial Fist Yellow.
Yeah, yes. And I heard like really, really good things about it.
Yes.
Not entirely sure, but
yeah, they've given you good options now, which makes sense because in the box, they've set you up for this in Sons of Horus as the two main there. So they should and did come out with some paints to help you actually paint it well, because they set people up for one of the more difficult colors off the bat for people to be able to do, which is a reasonably bright yellow. Darker yellows are a little bit easier.
Okay.
I do have some good news, though. There are 2 alternate schemes that pop up for Imperial Fists.
Oh, yes.
So there's the one, which is Sigismund's company specifically. They used black for most of their armor, but they have yellow helmets and yellow shoulder pads, if I remember correctly. And then there is a Crusade-era variant that could still pop up here and there. That is, I can't tell if it's a gray or a gunmetal color. But it's like that kind of like a neutral base with just yellow helmet.
Did they show this?
It's yellow. I'm looking at yellow knee pads as well. Yeah, yellow knee pads as well for the Sigismund company, the first company.
Yes, that too. Yeah,
the yellow knee. I like that color. I should point out opinion time. I absolutely love that color scheme. I like because Forge World. So when we say black, I know that people, when they think blank, they think Raven Guard black or like Iron Hand black. What's weird is that Forge World doesn't actually do black as black. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Very few things do. You shouldn't do black as actual black.
Yeah, they do it, but even so, even though it's still not like a black. It's more like a gray black, and it's fantastic. Like the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels aren't black. They're like Is that like a good way to put that? But I just want to point out that
in general, if you want to paint black, you should actually be using same concept as white. If you want to paint one of those colors, you should actually be using very little of that exact color. Otherwise, you get no depth of field. Black itself, obviously, is an absorption, an absence of color and all. So, what you usually do, or somewhat better ways. One, I mean, the contrast they have, the Black Templar contrast does a good job of this. That's what I use for my Dark Angels. But a lot of times you can start with a dark color and either lighten around or start with a little bit lighter and darken into recesses and all. You have to be careful not to make it look actually gray, but you shouldn't be going a lot of pure black to make black, the same way you shouldn't be going a lot of pure white to make white. And actually on page 243 in the Liber Astartes book, they actually show you those particular ones. The black with the bits of yellow and all on both a Legionnaire and a guy in Cataphractii armor. Someone in Mark IV and someone in Cataphractii armor. So
yeah, okay. It is yellow knee pads, right? I see a couple. I'm not sure if that's like
one of them. And so in the picture they show at the bottom, there's one yellow knee pad on one side. The other knee pad they didn't, but you could yellow the knee pads. But it is yellow helmet for sure and yellow shoulders.
Yes.
And then probably little bits and pieces from there on the Cataphractii. It's only really yellow on the top armor of the shoulders. That was about the only yellow they did. But
I should point out that the yellow they use is also not really like, it's not yellow. It's more like an orange tinged yellow, which is really nice. I like their color scheme. It's probably hard as hell to play either with contrast.
Well, the big thing is I wouldn't go all contrast. I would at least lay that down as a base layer. You could probably potentially stop there if you wanted, but it gives you a good base layer because the hardest part of painting any yellow is building up your color to give yourself a nice basis to work on. I otherwise, if I don't use contrast, I usually use the same way I do orange, which is usually base layers of closer to brown tones and things like that, and then go up from there.
I wonder how metallic yellow would look. I know I've seen very rarely because I feel like metallic yellow would kind of look sometimes bad. But
they have a word for that, actually.
Don't say gold. I'm going to kill you. I heard it when I did. Shut up. No, but I wonder how like a metallic, like not a gold, but like because gold is gold. Gold has tinges of brown and orange. I wonder what like a contrast yellow over like a silver would look. I wonder if that would look good.
I don't know if I had spare marine bodies because I have all those things, but I got a spare like shoulder on one of my test models, so I could always try something there. One of these test models, I don't need him anymore. So.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because like how sometimes a lot of the guides, it's always a metallic color, like Thousand Suns are metallic. Ultramarines they'll do like a metallic blue. Night Lords they'll do like a metallic blue purple, and it's just contrast over metal. I wonder if anyone has ever done.
I'm sure someone has.
I'm just going to Google it real quick.
All right. Well, while you do that, why don't we get into their trait? Their trait is very, very short. I'll discuss it here. So, for this, it's discipline and resolve. Models with a special rule gain a bonus of +1 to all. To hit rolls with any auto weapon or bolt weapon as part of any shooting attack, and it specifically calls out reactions because in general in the book, if it doesn't say reactions, then it doesn't apply. So if you're shooting anything with the word bolt in the name or anything with the word underneath the auto, you get +1 to hit. I mean it's again one that's nice and simple, not a lot of special things to it, but rather good because your base, a lot of your base guys, your base troops are all going to have bolters, bolt pistols, anything like that. Auto is actually what I flipped to see if that's going to be so useful or not. That part.
It's an exhaustive list. The auto weapons, so that's going to include autocannons. Well, yeah, it's in the name.
Yeah, it's I know the list is massive.
But it goes on to include such things as what's the little thing? The rotor cannons.
Yeah, it includes rotor cannons.
Assault cannons. It includes the main gun on a fell blade because that's an accelerated autocannon, as well as the main gun of the Kratos. That's also an autocannon. No, it's a fell blade. Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Oh, shit.
All the way up to the fell blade, they are getting that +1 to hit.
Yuck.
Oh, and the
As someone
Kratos
who's
battle
played
cannon is
Custodians,
as well.
as someone who's played Custodians, I can tell you firsthand how good it is to hit on 2s. It is. It sounds stupid. I know that people are like, but hitting on 3s is just being. No. You don't understand.
Okay.
Oh
Stop,
no,
stop.
Dan.
People
Everyone
don't
in the
do
world
that.
knows that hitting on 2s is amazing.
Yeah, no one's going to
Everyone
argue.
knows hitting on 2s is amazing. I don't know what world you live in.
Like a 60,
Everyone has been complaining for a month.
What, 67% versus what, 70?
It's a 16%
No.
difference.
84.
Oh, 84. Oh shit, that's a 20. Okay, never mind. I
Okay,
didn't think it was that much of a difference.
Dan, you cut your failure rate in half.
Ugh. Okay, never mind.
Literally,
Yeah,
no one
hitting on
was
2s
going
is
to
great.
say the thing that you were saying that people do.
I was laughing because I was like, I remember when this they had the same rule in 1.0, and I'm laughing like, sure, roto cannons are still.
No, in 1.0, it was only
Was it-
bolters
Oh, it's
and
only
bolt pistols.
bolters. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Because I'm
it's
thinking to
only
myself, like,
bolters.
oh, this
Now,
is so awesome. This is a whole squad of rotor cannons.
Yeah, fuck the rotor cannons. No, it is the assault cannons hitting on 2s. That's not only insanely strong, it's insanely insulting.
Yeah. It's yeah.
It's a good one, and it's nice and easy.
Yeah, nice and easy to remember.
This is one that when you have your sort of starter box and stuff like that, it's going to come into play a lot, and you don't have to build to use it because you're going to have tons of guys with bolt weapons. You will have to build to kind of potentially include some of the auto weapons, but if you just buy the stuff that's out there right now, you're going to have that as well. So, and your big tanks being able to hit on 2s is big because most of them hit on 3s. You may or may not be able to twin link certain weapons. So the additional there to make sure something you spent, say, 300 points on your Kratos, more of a guaranteed to hit is really going to help. All right.
That's good. I know.
We are on to Warlord traits because reactions. My apologies. Reactions, because there's not much more to say for that for the moment. Like it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very simple, but it has long-standing effects.
All right, who wants to take the reaction? Steve, did you want to do it? Because you haven't talked yet.
I can take this one.
Okay.
So the Imperial Fist's advanced reaction is called the Best Defense. As usual, this reaction is only usable if your entire unit is Imperial Fists. So once per battle, in the opposing player's movement phase, an enemy unit is within 10 inches and within line of sight of models that are Imperial Fists. So on and so forth. The reactive player, i.e. you, may declare a charge for the reacting unit against the enemy unit that triggered the reaction. You make a charge with a distance of d6 plus your lowest unmodified initiative characteristic in the unit. If you are successful in the charge, units are locked in combat and fight in the assault phase as normal, with the charging unit benefiting from charge bonuses, Hammer of Wrath, and so on. If the charge fails, no surge move is made. So this is like a lesser version of the Space Wolves trait.
Much lesser.
But I think that makes up for the sheer brutality of the +1 to hit with bolters. So I'm not even mad.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's
I have to.
It's underwhelming. It is absolutely underwhelming.
Because the Space Wolf form lets you move, which I did not realize before.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the move, I would say they're on roughly equal footing, because you basically substitute one of the two dice for the average roll of that die with initiative 4. But don't get me wrong, this is still a good trait, but it's not as good as the Space Wolf one. This will absolutely ruin someone's plan if they decide to get a little too close to your unit that's a little punchy. Like Terminator's using this, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, even use the normal special warders and stuff would still be terrifying for me.
Funny enough, you don't want to use with the Phalanx warders, because Phalanx warders, we'll get to this later, are actually better when they get charged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's I can see why it's nerfed. It's a little less, but in the context of the Legion, it's still good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is not bad. This is not like the Dark Angels were like, situationally. Like, no, this is good. It's not the Space Wolf one, but it's still good.
And it eats up the reaction in the phase that movement reactions are useful, but they're very particular with what you can do, because I could either only move right at you or right away from you, and that may not be in any way what I truly want to be doing. So at least with this, that's the spot I'm using. You have to end within 10. Let's assume your initiative characteristic is a 4 because you're a Space Marine. That's a fair assumption to make. That means you're looking at potentially a 6 on the die, but if they get a little closer, a little less, you are more likely to make a decent average length charge. So, not bad. Yeah, to me, it's absolutely underwhelming, but their main ability is very good, and this still has its uses, and at least it's a nice and simple thing. And if they don't get close enough, then you still have your normal move reaction. If they're, say, outside of the 10, that you can either move closer or get further away. So I guess it makes sense why they use the
Funnily,
lowest.
I think this is actually a good counter to Space Wolves. Funny enough, I'm just picturing. Remember last week, the last
2 days
episode,
ago.
talking about Space Wolves having reaping. Well, last
Yeah.
episode. Time is hard. They have reaping blow on a lot of their weapons. Well, it's actually characteristically, this is great for Imperial Fists because they won't abandon their fortifications unless it's opportune to do so. So if you have a defense line set up, as I was saying last time, if you're in base to base with the defense line, anything within 2 inches of you counts as in base to base. So being able to go over your own wall and countercharge is actually pretty good against Space Wolf specifically. No, it's just a nice trait. It's a nice trait to have.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. Like, so I'm not super sold on it, but nothing wrong with it. You're not going to be unhappy with it, unlike some of the others. But so far, the ones we've looked through, to me, very middle of the pack. All right, we're blazing through this stuff to begin with, because a lot of their stuff is just nice and simple to begin with, which is good. We're on to Warlord's traits. Does anyone care which one they do?
Yeah.
Dan, you take this first one.
Yeah, I'll take Solar Marshal. It sounds pretty cool. All right. So, a Warlord with this trait in all models in the friendly unit the Warlord joins gains +1 to their weapon skill characteristic when locked in a combat with one or more enemy units that have the trait or allegiance, which is why I wanted to look it up, by the way, today, Dave. That's why I was asking for it. In addition, any army whose Warlord trait has this trait may make one additional reaction per turn in any one of the opposing player's phases. As long as the Warlord has not been removed as a casualty, this additional reaction may only be made by the Warlord's unit and does not allow any unit to make more than one reaction per phase.
Just to briefly say before
the reason I was talking to Dave, like that little side bit.
Breather there. What Dan was bringing up is we mentioned a little bit on the Space Wolves episode, but also to bring it up here is there's a part in the book where essentially they give you a fluffy thing that says like, hey, if you guys are on the same side, someone should be the other side. Just call someone the other side is pretty much the wording. It's entirely a fluff rule. It's unfortunate because it means some stuff like this may or may not proc, and this was loyalist only. Go ahead.
No, and that's what I was going to bring up literally right now. I thought it was an actual rule, but instead it's like a kind of side blurb. But let's be honest, guys. I mean, this is one of those things where it's like 99% of the fucking time. So this is not going to be an issue because a lot of these Warlord traits have, if the opposing side is a trait or allegiance. But if you're playing a friendly game and you're playing Imperial Fists and the other person's playing loyalist Ultramarines, then your Warlord trait just doesn't do anything except for the extra reaction in any phase?
Yes. On the Warlord unit only.
Yeah, in any phase, which is still good, by the way. It's still good, but it doesn't do anything. Like you've lost half of your Warlord trait. So I think I'm almost certain that 99% of the people will do this. That when you're playing a game and you're both loyalist and someone has a loyalist versus traitor thing or versus loyalist thing, the other side is the other thing, so that the Warlord trait is fully. It sucks that it kind of has to be talked about beforehand. That's not an actual rule, but I'm almost 99% certain that no one is going to give you gripe about this. And if they do, listen, I'm going to be the kind of person that says, oh, okay, and I'll just pack up my things and find someone else to play. And that's not me being an asshole. That's not the kind of person I want to play. Here's
what I would say. Yeah. My thing would be, if the person doesn't want to make that allowance, potentially fine, but then you can pick a different Warlord trait. I'm not going to lock you into something that you're not going to get your bonus of.
Yeah, but how about if the Warlord trait is something you build? You took your army, you brought the army to the store, and this is your Warlord trait because you kind of built it amongst the Warlord trait, and now he's
I
saying
don't
choose a
know if
different
I've
one.
seen a Warlord trait yet that I would say you build an army around.
This one has like +1
Okay,
weapon
Yes,
skill. Let's say
they exist.
they
Because
exist, but even this one.
salamanders, this is looking far
Yeah.
forward.
Okay.
Salamanders specifically restricts your army composition based on your warlord trait.
Oh, okay.
Does that one require?
So warlord traits are absolutely part of list
I
writing.
agree they're part of list writing. I agree with all of that.
But like they're a fixed element. They're not mutable between games.
No, I agree with all
Theoretically.
of that. That's fine. But there's also an immutability to certain things like in this of if you don't have it. So I would say one of two things. Either you just take the whole thing, just do the warlord trait, don't care about what it says otherwise, that you're one thing or another, or switch a warlord trait at the time being as needed. I say you should let a person do one or the other if it's not going to be
Oh, you're
advantage to
saying
them.
do both, like either or. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That
Like,
makes
so
sense.
if there's going to be a reason
Yeah, no,
why
it's
it
just
wouldn't work well to keep the warlord trait, because I don't want to speak for everyone, then switch it. Have
yeah.
that sort of thing.
But so let's. I'm gonna work under the assumption that most people wouldn't care. I like this warlord trait. So you get +1 weapon skill when locked in combat with the enemy. It's just a flat +1 weapon skill to you in the unit. That's amazing. And for people who haven't really played 30K yet or just getting new, the weapon skill chart change from 1.0 to 2.0 was extremely massive. Most of 1.0, you almost always hit on a 4, even if the person was higher than you. I think it was up to double +1 was
Yep.
when it's a double +1 was. So if you were weapon skill 4, someone was weapon skill 9, that's when you hit on a 5, right? Stuff like that. You always hit on a 4 mostly. Now, if someone's weapon skill 4 and you're weapon skill 5, they're hitting you on 5s. So the ability to grant your entire unit +1 weapon skill, which is funny too because I think you said Phalanx Warders are weapon skill 5, Steve.
They get a bonus when they get charged, and they go to
So
weapon
now,
skill.
yeah, so if they get charged and you have him, let's say they get charged with an elite unit. Normally they're weapon skill 5. Having your warlord in that unit, they're weapon skill 6 when they get charged, which can absolutely swing the combat. So I like this trait a lot, and you can pick and choose when you want to have your additional reaction, which is excellent. That's amazing.
For the
Because
warlord
every
unit
phase
only.
is a pretty
It's the other
good.
key feature.
Oh, that's true, but it's still good. Like you're not limited to movement, shooting, or assault.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I'm saying that part
Yeah.
is very good, but this is one of the few that tells you who takes their action. You can take it at any point, but it is
Very
only
true.
that
Very
unit,
true.
so it's important distinction to make.
Oh no, very true.
No,
I
you don't have to apologize
No,
for
yeah,
it. Just mention it.
so I do like. Yeah. No, so I do like, but I do like this warlord trait. Absolutely like it. But again, that's working under the assumption that, when you play someone, they're the traitor. They're
I
the
think
enemy.
that's a fair assumption to make because, even in, organized play, I'll put it that way, the game is meant to be a lot more of, open discussion and more collaborative. So yeah, just take your bonuses. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, really.
All right. Steve, do you care which one of the other two?
It's all the
right.
same to me.
I'll take the next one because I'm looking at why not. Warden of Inuit. Inuit's the planet he's from, yes? Okay.
Yep. Well,
Yep.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah. It was another death world, actually. So, when within 6 inches of an objective or inside their own deployment zone, a warlord with the trait and any of the models that he joins will automatically pass any morale checks or opinion checks they're called to make. In addition, they get an extra reaction in the opposing player's assault phase as long as he's alive. If we work under... Oh, what I will say, for that first warlord trait, that is assuming your own army is loyalist, though. Assume your enemy's army is whatever you want to get your bonoses. But assuming you guys are doing loyalist.
wait.
What I would say, though, is if you're doing loyalist Imperial Fists, which non-loyalist Imperial Fists seem really wrong to me.
Yeah, that's a really weird
one. Hey, do what you want, but that feels wrong.
That was a weird one.
They call them Black Templars because they're not loyal to the Great Crusade or the
They're
Imperial
loyal
truth.
to the Emperor.
That's very true. No. So the way you see the Imperial Truth is
I know.
they were one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so for those at home who aren't like neck deep in Horus Heresy lore, the Great Crusade is about spreading the human empire, reuniting humanity, and uniting them under the Imperial Truth, which essentially states there are no gods. Mankind alone has the right to own the galaxy. And, science is supreme above all, basically. It's like the way it kind of works out. The Black Templar, Sigismund specifically, decides that he's going to read Lorgar's book, the Lectitio Divinatis, and he says, yes, this is great. The Emperor is a god. Which is a straight up, it's heresy. It's a betrayal of the ideals of the Great Crusade. So, if you want to play Traitor Imperial Fists, just field Sigismund.
He went Manifest Destiny rather than secular Manifest Destiny, which is what the Emperor wanted. So let's assume that you're loyal.
And fun fact, Dorn, I was like, Dorn even warned him not to do this, which I always find absolutely hilarious. Dorn was like, please don't do this. And Sigismund's like, fuck you. I always found that to be the funniest thing.
What I will say is, if you're playing them as loyalist, I would never take this one over probably Solar Marshal or maybe something else. Maybe if I'm like shooting units and all, and my Warlord's going to be back in a unit, I don't know, with like a bunch of last can guys, something crazy like that, sure. But or maybe because it's objectives, it's not bad. At least you're never going to run. But I'd rather a better chance at cutting you down and winning the combats rather than just not running when I lose.
Well, that's the thing. Because you also get the extra assault phase reaction, you are more likely to win because you could take away charging bonuses. Or you could gun them down before they reach you. So this is a great defensive, I'm going to hunker down on this objective, fucking try and take it from me. That's what this one's good for. And it plays great against Iron Warriors because they love to throw pinning around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen much pinning. I know it's out there. I haven't seen too much of it, so maybe that part would make a difference. The morale test, like I said, is nice.
Oh, when we play a game, you'll learn.
Yeah, it's people are taking snipers.
I've won against snipers. It's been a little bit. It's been fine. Yeah, and most missions use objectives, so that's useful. I like the other one a good bit more because I feel like it's giving you tools to win, where this one is giving you tools not to lose. But that's me.
Okay. That's it. I like that. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal that for my class.
Be talking about some ancient battle of some crap. I'm gonna put that on the 6th grade.
No, but I like that. Instead of giving you tools to win, it gives you tools not to lose. I like that a lot.
It's
a really good.
It's a trope. It's a trope that comes up a lot. Actually,
no, it's just a good phrase.
All right. How about this Architect of Devastation?
Yeah.
That name.
All right. The Architect of Devastation. Oh, architects. Engineers are better. I'm sorry. All right. Architects of Devastation. This Warlord and all models that are Imperial Fists within a unit he joins. So a mixed unit does benefit, but only the Imperial Fists within the unit get it. So if you like Alien,
very true,
Angels, whatever. Yeah. They can re-roll failed to hit rolls of 1 as long as the unit is entirely within area terrain that grants a cover save or embarked within a fortification. In addition, you get an extra shooting phase reaction as long as the guy's not dead. This, oh my god, yeah, this is great. Throw him in a heavy support squad, and you could have autocannons or assault cannons that hit on 2s, reroll 1s. Yeah. That said, this is also real great bait for my favorite Warlord trait from the Iron Warriors that removes a piece of terrain's cover save and makes it dangerous, which is done after deployment. So I'm definitely not baiting people into taking this one. No, never.
That wouldn't be fun. That wouldn't be the fun way to play the game.
Oh, but it's absolutely the fluffy way to play the game.
That is true. That's one spot where beating someone's face in makes sense.
But no, like this is a good trait. I mean, you're gonna have cover on your board. If you don't know if there's gonna be cover, spend 50 points on an Aetos defense line, and now you got cover.
What?
Actually, no, because Aetos defense lines will not work because Aetos defense lines are obstacles, not area terrain. You got to find a ruin to hunker down in, or a forest. But even then, like, you're gonna find those pieces of terrain, and it's anyone on the table that you happen to find yourself within. So this is
Most,
great. Reroll ones
Yeah.
is no joke.
especially on weapons that you hit on twos.
Yeah, or weapons that get hot, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't want to get hot. So throw in a plasma gun squad, roll up in a rhino, hop out into some terrain, and just light something up.
Most terrain in the game grants cover when you can stand on it, essentially. And if you're playing in such
Or when you're obscured by
True, yes.
25%.
If you can't get those two things, I don't want to play on the board you're on if you can't get like a unit to be able to have those.
Planet, hold on. 40K has his turn for this.
Planet Bowling Ball.
Yeah,
Planet Bowling Ball.
Like you're supposed to play the game with you're supposed to play that game with terrain as well. And GW did give out good ways to set up terrain there. But you're supposed to play with terrain. Play with terrain. You should have some of this. You're taking it with that assumption. You know, you want to be able to use your Warlord traits. So that's good though. I like this one better than the second one. I think I still like the first one more, but that's just me.
The first one's good if you have a close
Yes.
combat unit. Most
I was
people
gonna-
do, just
I was
because
gonna
they love their big
Yeah.
flashy combat warlords rolling
And
around
for me,
with
because I
Spartans and all
know some
that.
of the ornaments, I think because Solarite gauntlets are, oh my god, oh, they've always been good. But just punching at the
But-
strength of a fucking railgun,
Architect Devastation is a really good trait. You know what you do?
good.
You throw this on a unit, and it's a heavy bolter squad. Now they're all hitting on twos, re-rolling ones. Just catch these bullets.
True. Yes. Or throw them on a. Hold on. What were we talking about? Was it autocannons last time?
Yeah, autocannons.
Yeah. Like a unit of autocannons. They hit on twos, re-rolling ones. Yeah, no, it's a good. All of them are good. I have really no problem with any of these. They're all really
And they're
good.
very different what they do, so you can tailor towards
Yes.
what you want to accomplish because you're gonna get very different feelings out of these.
I will say that's kind of surprising because normally, you know, I know we kind of called Space Wolves kind of
You
the
called Space Marines
Ultramarines of 30K.
The rest of us on this podcast did no such thing.
No, but like these guys are also kind of vanilla.
These guys
as
to me are
well
the vanilla,
with what they do.
not Space Wolves. Space Wolves are a bunch of guys, you know, who liked very particular things at parties and have a very particular look to them. But I would not call them vanilla. These guys are vanilla. We went through like half of their stuff in 4 minutes earlier. Like, you get this bonus. You have this nice and even reaction. Nothing special, just a nice even reaction.
Yeah.
Your Warlord traits. They cover a little bit of everything.
Should I mention the one Rite of War I was talking about, or should I wait for that unit?
Once we
Nah.
talk about the unit, then talk
Don't
about
mention it. No one needs to know.
No one needs to know.
Once we talk about the unit.
Steve's like, please. Yeah, we'll talk about the unit. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
First, we're
Okay.
going to go to the Armory. Now, Dan, I know you've requested not to do the first thing. So I will take the first one since you specifically requested not to. That's okay. I got the book here in front of me. So this is the Vigil Storm Shield. Any model that's both an Imperial Fist and an independent character rule that does not have a unique unit subtype, so can't give it to a named character, may take a Vigil Storm Shield for 20 points. Additionally, any model that is an Imperial Fist with a Imperial Fist special rule in a Legion Tartarus Terminator squad or Legion Tartarus Command squad may exchange a Combi Bolter for a Vigil Storm Shield for 15 points. So your independent characters can take it, and people in Tartarus, essentially Tartarus squads or Tartarus Command squads, if they get rid of their Combi Bolters, can. Any model with the Legion Astartes Imperial Fist special rule and a Legion Cataphracti Terminator squad or a Command squad may exchange their Combi Bolter for 10 points. So if you're an independent character or you're in Terminators type armors, the main ones out of the book, none of this weird, you got giant ugly shoulder pad armors, but otherwise you can take these for various points costs. A model with a Vigil Storm Shield gains a 3-up invulnerable save. The invulnerable save granted by it does not stack with any others. It can't be modified, so it's always a 3-up by any other special rule. If a model has an invulnerable save, then the controlling player must choose one to use. And a model with a Vigil Storm Shield may never gain an additional attack for being armed with 2 close combat weapons or make attacks using a weapon with 2-hand special rule. They have to always have their shield in their hand.
Yes.
I mean, going to a 3-up invul save is really, really good.
Yes,
On your
it is.
on your independent character. Now, I haven't looked at some of the weapons. Actually, they only have one special weapon. I like it on there. I like it on your independent characters because the 3-up invul. There's been plenty of times when on my 4-up invul, on my Praetor, and someone hit me with a weapon that's going to double me out, and you're hoping 50-50. 20 points to give me that extra +1 feels worth it. It feels like it'll save me a good bit. The other units useful. I would just have some concerns on the off bat, just on a quick cursory glance of the extra points that you're throwing in on like a 5-man or a little bit above, but on bigger ones, you're going to really start throwing points at them. Though it is exceedingly strong, you would have to build in, some buffer of points for if you want to slap, say, you got like 7 Tartaros and you want to slap this on them, because now you're starting to talk about units worth.
Oh,
Well, you don't
hold on.
have to equip the entire squad.
Very true.
Though.
Yeah.
You could have 2 guys with the shields to tank the big
Didn't
hit,
think about
Absorb shits.
and then have the other guys to dish out damage or
That's what I would
soak
do.
up the little things, right? Like,
Yep.
oh, I'm hit by bolters. All right, the lightning claw guy could take this one. Oh, I'm being hit by las cannons. Yeah, I'll take the 3.
Yeah, you're right. I did.
Yeah.
Or if you're on anti-dreadnought, duty,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I didn't notice that was any. I said it, but it didn't dawn on me that's any. Yeah, the fact it's any, I would probably swap in 2. Take my unit, assuming it's a unit of like maybe 2 for every 5, because then I have the ability to withstand
Also,
what I need.
This is really good too, because on Tartaros Terminators, they jump from a 5-up to a 3-up. That's a 2-point bump.
And I know I'm jumping ahead, but they can also take the Power Gauntlet, which is that paired with the Power Gauntlet is kind of the wombo combo you want. Yeah, so that's why I see this. So this paired with like the Power Gauntlet interspersed between the squad, definitely something I would do. Definitely.
Yeah, I would still only do a few, because you are going to start getting up points wise, especially in the moment when we talk about the gauntlet, because you have to be replacing power fists, which is something you have to be purchasing on all these models as well. So your costs are going to start going up. But yeah, I honestly, just without trying it out, I would probably go 2 for 5. Every 5 models, I want to take 2 of these. And yeah, these are the ones who are going to be taking the save versus contemptors, or when I get smacked with a las cannon. All right. Steve, did you want to do the teleport strike? Because I think Dan's, going to go insane if he doesn't get the gauntlet.
I can take teleport strike.
Oh, yeah, the gauntlet.
I don't know. A teleport strike's right up his alley too, but I'll take it. So the teleport strike.
My alley, honestly, I was going to say.
This is a very straightforward upgrade. All models that are Imperial Fists that are in a Cataphractic Terminator squad, a Tartaros Terminator squad, a Cataphractic Command squad, or a Tartaros Command squad may be given Deep Strike for 25 points per unit. Independent characters may be given Deep Strike for 20 points per model.
Love it.
This is good.
Amazing. Yep.
Because this edition, you can assault out a Deep Strike.
Mm-hmm.
Terminators are extremely durable models. They could survive a little bit of reaction fire and be perfectly fine coming out. Lots of people coming from 40k assume, even last edition, for years, people that never actually focused on this might have missed it. Terminators do not get Deep Strike by default in Horus Heresy.
No, they do not.
Being able to Deep Strike them is so huge, because it overcomes one of the biggest weaknesses of half the Terminators, and that is the fact that they cannot run. This solves a mobility issue very, very nicely.
Now,
and Deep Strike pins. It causes pinning checks.
What I was going to ask you to do, if you could take a second, could you explain how Deep Strike works? I haven't used it yet, honestly. Okay.
Yes, I can. So, I'll cover reserves as a whole super fast, because it only makes sense as part of that whole. But essentially, you could put units into reserves. Anybody in a drop pod is organized into what's called a drop pod assault. Anyone in a drill is in what's called a subterranean assault. Anyone that's outflanking forms an outflanking assault. Deathstorm drop pods form what's called an area denial drop. And then units that could deep strike are organized into deep strike assault. All those different categories, all your units that deploy with that method are grouped together. And you make one roll to see if the entire thing shows up. On turns 2 and 3, you roll. You need a 3 up to bring them in. Turn 4, they arrive automatically. For Deep Strike and the other ones that are similar to Deep Strike, what you do is you pick one model in one of the units and you place it on the board and you scatter it 2d6 inches. If you have a Nuncio Vox that can see the location, that does let you re-roll the entire roll. So long as that model finishes its scatter outside of 1 inch of any enemy models and impassable terrain, you then deploy the rest of that unit within coherency, and you roll a die. On a 2 or higher by default, it's an orderly assault, and the controlling player, i.e. you, gets to place the remainder of the units within the assault within, I want to say it's 12 inches of the first unit. It might only be 6, but I think it's 12. And then after that, after all those come in, then your opponent takes all of their units within 6 inches of one of your units that just deep struck, and they take a pinning test for every single one of those units. Then, after the pinning test, if they are not pinned, they may make a interceptor reaction to it, but only interceptor reactions, which is essentially shoot back. And if so, you have an augury scanner, you could do the reaction without using up your reaction points at all, and it doesn't even count towards the max 3 reactions in a phase.
Okay.
Now, if you happen to roll a 1, it's a disordered deep strike, and your opponent places the other units within range of the first unit. If you happen to scatter into a place you can't go, your opponent places the entire thing in a legal position within 18 inches of the intended of where you scatter to. So you get too close, you end up being bumped to a disadvantageous position. It's an extremely powerful rule, and there's a few ways to counter it. I don't know if you want to get into that right now, but that's basically deep strike. All deep striking units drop together, they pin stuff, and you can charge afterwards, which is huge. So you deep strike, you scatter one model, deploy the unit, deploy the other units, and then you can shoot and charge as normal. The enemy has to do pinning checks. So you could deep strike, 10 inches away, and daisy chain your models up to be 2 inches away, and then have a 2-inch charge coming out of deep strike. It's insanely good.
No, that is very good. Mostly I wanted you to go through it because I know, at least me, I'm not as familiar with it because I haven't had to use it. And I can see in this, that's when I was playing smaller, 1,500 point games, and obviously not bringing my Spartan and all, my Cataphracti always had the problem of they're walking and they're very slow. And if you're not wanting to get close to them, with, you're hard hitting you or something like that, it's very tough to get them in. Something like this, for 25 points, I would absolutely want to be taking that on units.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it's absolutely massive.
I should point out that what Steve is talking about is deep strike assault. You could do a normal deep strike.
No, that changed, Dan.
Oh,
There's no more normal deep strike.
Wait,
all deep strikes must be formed into an assault.
So there's outflank and outflank assault.
Nope, there's only outflank assault.
That's not true. You can a normal outflank.
Nope.
I'm pulling up my book right. Where at 1 to 2 you get one side, 3 to 4 you get another side. Don't make me open up my book. Open.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I already started. No, there's absolutely. God damn it! Now I got to figure out because I know it's not in the special rules either.
That's weird. It should totally be in special rules.
Okay, I'll put it this way: outflank, page 244. Outflank. A unit made entirely models with a special rule may perform a flanking assault. That's what that is. It lets you do an assault. If we go to deep strike, deep strike. A unit made of models entirely with this rule may perform a deep strike assault. There's only assaults now, Dan. They changed that from the playtest stocks that were leaked.
Hold on.
I literally read it verbatim from the book for you. There are only assaults. and you only get one of each kind of assault, unless you have a special rule or right of war telling you could do multiple.
All right. While Dan, while he looks,
So weird.
you're finding that your beliefs have crumbled around you, aren't you? Yep.
Yes.
Now you know how Lorgar felt.
Yeah, wait, hon. So now, stupid question. You don't have, you know what I'm talking about, right? The 1 to 2 one side,
Nope.
3 to 4 another side,
Oh,
5 to
so
6 you choose.
okay. I'll cover that super fast just so we can move on from this point. What you do is before the first turn, you place a marker on one table edge. It's any table edge. When you arrive, you roll to see if it's orderly or not. If it's orderly, you could adjust the marker 6 inches and you walk on from the point. You literally walk from the point. If you roll a 1, your opponent can move it up to 24 inches, I think. Off the top of my head, it could be off on that number, but your opponent moves it, and then you walk on. And it's extremely easy to block an outflank by just physically putting models in the way. So outflanks are extremely dangerous. I do not recommend.
You were right
that.
on the 24, but yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Well, hey, you learned something, Dan. Yeah.
Huh.
And you could fire blasts in reactions and Overwatch. Just to really grind in the this is not your granddad's edition of Heresy.
Yeah, no, yeah. That is okay. I have been thoroughly chastised. I have been thoroughly chastised. I love it.
Redeem yourself by talking about these gauntlets.
Oh, the gauntlets are so good. Let me close my book real quick. So the gauntlets, probably my favorite weapon in all of Horus Heresy. Mostly one because the custodians let the Imperial Fizz get this weapon. So the Solarite powered gauntlet can essentially be given to given to someone as an exchange for their power fist for an additional +5 points. Or you can exchange it for a Thunderhammer for free. Or the Thunderhammer can be exchanged for a fist for free. It's a power weapon in all regards. So, which just changed completely, by the way, from version 1, which is why I'm so excited. So, it is a melee weapon. It is Strength 10 AP 1 unwieldy. Now, what changed, by the way, from first edition was that it used to be mastercrafted and only ×2 strength. So it was like a mastercrafted power fist. Who gave a shit? Now it's just Strength 10 AP 1. You are literally punching you basically have Tau railguns on your fists. It's cheap enough to do, and it's amazing, in my opinion.
For a lot of units, it's the same cost as a chain fist. Because usually chain fists are 5 more points than a power fist.
And honestly,
right.
Yep.
So here's the debate. Now, this is not viable for every unit, but many units that have power fists have the choice between, for the same points, the Solar Gauntlet, the Thunderhammer, and the Chain Fist. So would you take this over a Thunderhammer?
So I'm going to say yes. Because the Thunderhammer's Strength 8 AP 2, but brutal. This, because it's +2 more strength, allows you to penetrate a vehicle. Like, I'll put it right now. I have literally punched Land Raiders to death because of my power gauntlet. That's literally what it is. I can literally crack open a Land Raider because of its strength and its AP value. Because remember, a Thunderhammer is only AP 2, and it's Strength 8. Sure, it's brutal, but for that, I'll just take Chain Fists, because that'll do better against Dreadnoughts. And also, I think Thunderhammers are more points.
You can swap it out for
So Power Fist is
same as the Solar, right?
Yeah.
Oh, same as the Solar. Okay. Yeah, so that's just I would take, so in like, if I had to like rank, right, I would put Chain Fist probably first, then Solarite, then Thunderhammer, in my opinion.
I think I agree. Solarite is it don't get me wrong, it's very good. Being Strength 10 is great. What you find, at least what I found so far, that +2 additional strength, though nice, isn't used quite as often as I would think, because if you're going against something in a Marine body, he is probably doubled out on 8s alone. There's some things that require 5s, sure, but probably doubled out on 8s alone. Okay, so the additional +2 strength is nice, but against heavier vehicles, I'd rather have the Armor Bane, because on the 2 dice, I'm more likely to get above a 2, therefore more likely to be above a strength 10, essentially. The AP1 is better, but it's not doing me any good if I'm going against, say, a Land Raider on 14. If I can't get 5s and 6s, I don't care if I'm AP1. It doesn't do me a thing. But on 2 dice, I'm much more likely to get those pens, to either potentially get the results I want, or at least to be crippling it. But it is very good. Huh?
I think it's the same, isn't it? Wait, it's the same. So strength 8. So chain fist is
On a
strength
standard
8,
Marine, yeah. It doubles
right?
it, but let's assume
Uh,
it's a Marine.
yeah. So yeah. So 2d6 on average is a 7. That's
Yeah.
a 15, right? Which is a penetrate versus. Oh
Yes,
yeah, you do need a 5 to
more
penetrate. You're
likely
right.
with
I
that
was gonna say.
on average dice. Now, if your dice are hot, you're much more likely on the chain fist to get it. But overall, you're more likely to actually be able to pen vehicles. You just don't hurt them as much because you're not the AP1.
I feel like ironically this would be better. Okay, so I feel
Okay.
like ironically this would be better against
Yes,
Leviathans
it is
because
better against the
Leviathans are
Leviathan.
toughness 8. So you
Yes.
have to re-roll. Yeah, so you have to re-roll you can re-roll your wounds against the Leviathan versus this, which just wounds on 2s.
Wound on 2s
Yeah,
is
wounding on 2s is better
statistically
than wounding on a 4 reroll.
Yeah. Um. Like I said, it's not an automatic take. I still think it's better than Thunderhammer. I'd still put Chain Fist above, but I definitely put Power Gauntlet's definitely second in my opinion. What do you think, Steve?
So power gauntlets are great once toughness 5 starts entering the scene, or if you face battle hardened a lot.
Oh, true.
Because now you're instant deathing toughness 5, which is a nice step. Or if you're fighting a legion, the Sons of Horus, that lowers your strength. You're still swinging at strength 9, which means, guess what? You're instant deathing their Marines. Their thing is they subtract strength from attacks on the first round in close combat against them. So this is a nice counter to that. I think this is a great piece of war gear, and the units that cannot take Chain Fists and Thunderhammers, this is an excellent pick if you have the points spare. If not, you're not going to feel like you lost the game by not having this. But if you got 5 points, which you could usually find, this is not a bad upgrade to a Power Fist.
Agreed, yeah. A little bit of a mixture, depending on what your squad's doing, a little bit of a mixture is not necessarily bad either. Some chain fists with potentially 1 or 2 of these as well. Because, yeah, if toughness 5 becomes a thing or near you is a thing, this wins. Absolutely wins out. But if it's not, and right now, I always make the assumption we're starting off, we have a giant box, and then we've had some other releases. That's what people are working with. So from that, strength 8 will get you your job done. All right. Does anyone in particular care about this fancy assault cannon?
I do.
Okay.
I
Go
do
for it.
because it's insulting. So the Aetos Assault Cannon. The Assault Cannon's a shared piece of war gear that both the Imperial Fists and the Blood Angels have access to, and they follow very similar rules as to where you could take it. Imperial Fists that are infantry may exchange any heavy flamer they have with an assault cannon for 10 points. Straightforward. A Legion Predator tank that's an Imperial Fist can exchange a turret-mounted Predator cannon for a turret-mounted twin-linked assault cannon for no additional points cost. Not a bad change. Any model with the Dreadnought or vehicle type may exchange a heavy flamer for an assault cannon for 20 points each. That one's a little pricey, but we'll get into what the assault cannon does. So it's range 24, strength 6, AP 4, assault 4, rending 6 up, malfunction, which just means that when you're doing a reaction attack, the weapon gets hot. Why is this such an insanely strong pick? Why is it 20 points each upgrade? Because it's an auto weapon, which means you'll be hitting on 2s. It's also assault, so you could walk with it, shoot it, and assault it with any model. This is an amazing pick. You could run a 5-man heavy support squad with assault cannons for 150 points, I think.
Yeah.
And they just walk up. There's 7-inch walk, shoot out 24 inches, so 31-inch threat range, 4 shots a model, hitting on 2s, rending on 6s, or wounding on 2s on regular Marines. It's an insanely good fire base to have, and its downsides got downgraded from the previous edition, so it's even better than it was. And the reason I keep saying this is insulting is that Blood Angels also get this weapon, but they're not hitting on 2s with it.
They're better in their own way. They're their own type of special. Yeah, because look, I wouldn't put this on my Dreadnought, because my Dreadnought, I'd probably just rather have, like the carries assault cannon if I want an assault cannon, because it has more shots, and the assault part doesn't really matter at all to me, and I don't want to malfunction.
Well,
Oh,
you're missing something, though. It's not an arm swap. It's the underslung weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you're changing the heavy flamer.
So you could have... Yup. So you could have double power fist with double assault cannon underslung. Why choose? You could have both.
That is true.
I am Birdman. It's
very expensive.
It's expensive, but I mean, there's a reason it's expensive. As a matter of fact, I'd say that might be the one properly costed Contemptor build.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Honestly, it's not even bad to build a Contemptor that way, because you're only looking at we have to upgrade to heavy flamers, which is what?
I think it's 5
points each.
I believe so. I can check.
Veteran squads, I think, have access to heavy flamers. I'll check that too, since I'm in that section of the book. Obviously, your Terminators can take it.
I mean, I kind of like it on the heavy support squad.
Yeah, so veterans can take it. Heavy support squads can take it. Terminators can take it.
Yeah, the built-in heavy flamer is 5 points on a Contemptor.
Okay, so for 225 points, you could have a Contemptor running around, throwing out 8 shots, and then punching you 4 times, 5 on the charge. That's really good. The biggest issue with the double Dock of Dread is that you don't have any melee potential, and this weapon just solves that for you entirely. Now, there's also the funny build of the Burnt Predator, where you have the Spontan Heavy Flamers become assault cannons, and then you add a pintle-mounted Heavy Flamer, and you make that an assault cannon. And the auto cannon becomes a twin-linked assault cannon. So now you have 4 assault cannons, one of them is twin-linked, all just throwing out dice. It's funny. It will kill things. I think on average it will kill a Land Raider, but you're also spending that many points for a much softer platform. But this is a nice piece of work here.
This one is good. It definitely can run you up points very quickly. I understand why they wanted to be consistent, so that's why it's switching out heavy flamer and stuff like that. But like on the Dreadnought, you have to upgrade to get to the heavy flamer, then upgrade for this. They could have just made it a cost, but I understand why they did it. It gives a nice consistency to it. But no, this is a good weapon. I like this. I like it more. Honestly, I like it on the heavy support squads. I like it on there and a squad of those guys. Like I said, walking forward, getting to 24 inches, and then just firing down range.
Definitely a solid pick. Who wants to cover the Castellan? Because this is one that I wouldn't mind covering, but I already did the assault cannon. One of the other people have a chance.
Take it.
No, it's okay, because I'll just tear it apart. Okay. So, you want to know what makes Imperial Fists probably one of the most abusive armies in the game? It's this guy right here. So, any Legion Centurion, I want to make this very clear, because I have had no less than 3 Imperial Fists players ask me this question in my local area alone. When it says a Legion Centurion, it means the guy in power armor, artificer armor. It does not mean the Terminator. Just want to clarify that right here, right now. Not the Terminators. But any Legion Centurion that is an Imperial Fist may be upgraded to a Castellan for 20 points. What this does is it gives you the Fire Support Special Rule and the Heavy Subtype. Heavy Subtype, straightforward. You can't run. You lose an inch on reaction movements, but you get to reroll saves against Blast. Fire Support. When making an attack with a heavy weapon, a Castellan may increase the number of attacks made with that weapon by 1. Oh, okay. That's nice. No downside, you just get an extra shot. But wait, there's more. In addition, any Legion heavy support squads in the same detachment gain the line subtype. Not his unit. He doesn't give his unit line. He gives every heavy support squad in that detachment line.
Yuck.
So you said you liked support squads with assault cannons. How do you like them also being
I
scored?
kind of wish I had that. I would have if their Contemptor would have been better looking. It wasn't.
You and everyone else.
So yeah, all that is 20 points. And you get a heavy bolter as well. You just gain a heavy bolter, by the way. You don't give up one of your defaults. So you can have a heavy bolter, a power fist, and something else. Oh, wait, nope, never mind. I spoke too soon. But he doesn't give up weapons. He just gains a heavy bolter for free. Or he could upgrade to an autocannon for 5 points, or an assault cannon for 10 points. I like my assault cannons hitting on 1s and being line. And he gets an extra shot, don't forget, so that autocannon can be shooting 3 shots instead of 2? Or is it 4 instead of 3? I know the bolter goes from 4 to 5. Forget the assault cannons, autocannon's default dice count, but it's good.
Yeah, you're not even
really
taking
good,
it for
right?
that. You're taking it for making line.
So he gets the weapons. Yeah. The only restrictions on his war gear are that he cannot have a jump pack, or a bike, or a combat jet bike. He cannot have a combat shield, which doesn't do anything anyway, so why would you take it? Cannot have a boarding shield. He's already heavy, so why would you take it? The downsides are you cannot have a power fist, a solarite power gauntlet, lightning claws, or any two-handed weapons. But you can still have a power sword. This is an insanely strong pick. It is probably one of the biggest force multipliers in the game because it just spills to up to 3 other units.
Yep.
You just spam scoring units.
Yeah.
With long range guns. Everyone else is like, oh man, my long range unit is the recon squad with the sniper rifles, and it's an extra 10 points a guy. There's only 5 guys, and this and that. It's just like, oh yeah, I just have some las cannons parked here, taking pot shots across the board, and they control the objective. Good luck taking it. Put him in there. Put your warlord in there. Reroll 1s to hit, because why not? Just like it's so good.
For the Consularis that we've looked at so far, as well as the Consularis that I've seen going forward, this is one of the best because it is cheap. Some of the other ones are good, but maybe a lot of times can be a little bit more. He's cheap, and if you're wanting to take heavy support squads, if you're fine doing that, he gives you a huge bonus. If you're not taking them, don't bother with it. But this guy's really good, especially if you weren't going to work. If you were taking, maybe a different rite of war that doesn't give out a lot of line, or makes things count as troops but doesn't give them line. Here's a way to get your scoring units if it's not coming from your tax squads. So maybe you're not trying to run 3 tax squads and 3 of these. Maybe I run 3 of these. I have maybe a tax squad, and my rite of war gives me these other guys for something else. Well, okay, I have my scoring units then. No, I like this. If it wasn't yellow and they had a better looking Contemptor, maybe. That's my problem with them. All right. Are we good with that fancy man? All right.
I think so.
Oh, that moves us on to the first of the units. These guys have actually very, very few units, so this will go really, really quick from here. They are, and that's really fine, good, but they're short, so go pretty fast. If no one cares, I can take the Templar Brethren to start. Sure.
Yeah, take the Templars. I'll take the. Wait, where's the Terminator ones?
Yeah, it's in the PDFs. Yeah, we'll do book and then we'll go to.
It's in the PDF. Yeah, I'll take them. I'll take the Huscarl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take.
All right, so these are the Templar Brethren. It's 150 points. They are standard move, ballistic skill, weapon skill, toughness. They're ballistic skill, strength, and toughness. Their weapon skill is 5, so the one better on that. They're 2 wounds, so closer to a veteran. The leaderships are 8 or 9 for their leader, the champion, 2 up saves, because these guys are in artificer armor. They have power swords and bolt pistols. They have their grenades. They as I said, they have their leader. They have Furious Charge 1. Furious Charge is that a plus an attack or an initiative? Plus strength.
Plus
Thank you. Okay.
strength
My
on the
apologies. I
charge.
was wrong entirely.
Yeah.
Was okay. So plus strength. So it puts them to strength 5,
You're
which
good, you're good.
for power swords is great because if you're they're weapon skill 5. So assuming they're going against a standard unit. All right, now I'm hitting on 3s. And then if I'm +1 on that charge, well, now I'm wounding on 3s as well. So I'm actually cutting through Space Marines. And they have Crusader. What does Crusader do? Because I don't recall. Does anyone know? Yes.
We covered this last episode for
Yeah,
that
this is
one
the-
Space Marines
yeah.
unit. They could they roll 2 dice to take the highest, which is better than a reroll.
For
2 dice
for
take the
sweeping,
highest
yes.
on
Okay, yes, I do
sweeping
recall that
advanced
now.
rolls.
They can take a Rhino or a Land Raider Proteus as their dedicated transports. You can take out the 5 more, the 25 points a guy. You can take Melt-A-Bombs on the whole unit for a total of 25 points, which is a very nice option. You can put combat shields on these guys. Any model can exchange its bolt pistol for plasma pistols. So you could actually rock a few of those if you wanted to be able to either potentially instant kill some targets, or at least be able to hurt something a little bit heavier. Your champion can take Power Fist, or you can take the Solarite Gauntlet. On him, that's probably where I would take that. Your champion can take, one of the first times I've seen it, can actually take the Archaeotech pistol, and the champion can have one of his weapons become master crafted. So these are these essentially the guys that are going to end up becoming Templars? Is that the idea? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right.
Okay,
This is Sigismund.
that's what I thought.
These are Sigismund's boys.
So taking an overall look at them, I mean, they're base 2 attacks. They have power sword and bolt pistol, so they're going to have an extra 1. So they're essentially base 3. If they can get the charge off, now they're essentially looking at 4. They're extra strength. They're better weapon skills. So to me, these guys are with their base loadout, because I worry about throwing too much and making them suddenly expensive. Like, yeah, if you want to go get something heavy, you could put a bunch of plasma pistols in there, but you're tacking on a lot of points, and I don't necessarily like the idea. But sending these guys to be your sort of mid-level hunters going against tac squads or other support squads, maybe not like a Meltagun squad, but other support squads or other people's lower level elite type units, I really like the look of that. Like, I wouldn't want to necessarily throw these guys against someone who also has a 2-up save, because their base thing is going to help that. But to go against a unit that has a 3-up, these guys are going to do a lot of good against that, especially themselves being on 2-up saves, because then they'll be able to survive out. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a bullying unit.
Yeah,
it's a bully,
especially
unit.
with that extra weapon skill. I mean, that upper weapon skill helps protect them.
I know you got excited about the Archaeotech pistol, which is, I would take that every time, just because it's rending 3 up.
Yes, and it's only 5
and
points,
Ren's
which is
auto
nice.
boom. But what's more interesting
Yes.
to me is that they could all have Melt-A-Bombs.
Yes.
I went through the entire Marine book, like all the generic stuff, the other day, just to find all the Melt-A-Bombs, and they are shockingly sparse this edition.
Which is
They
surprising,
probably
by
just
the
didn't
way.
want a lot of them.
Yeah, because they used to be everywhere.
I'm sure that was the choice.
It's a little too convenient. Contemptors on the rise, Melt-A-Bombs on the fall. But yeah, no, like this, it's a unit that when it gets there, it's gonna rock something, but it has to get there first. They have no base invulnerable, so they are gonna get targeted by those, strength 8 attacks and those AP 2 attacks. But throw them in a Land Raider. I wouldn't put them in a Rhino because you can't disembark and charge afterwards. So I would just go straight for the Land Raider with these guys.
Yeah, they're doing you absolutely no good if they're not charging.
Yeah, good unit.
So yeah, I'd put them, if you're going to take them in something, absolutely put them in the Proteus. Now you can get to a spot. You're going to get out. You're not going to fire your bolt pistols because you don't want to take the reaction back. Then you're going to charge in on 2-up saves. As long as you're choosing the right target, you will make it in. Pretty much all of them should make it in. And if you chose the right target, you'll be able to eat whatever you want to go after. And then that way you can start, go hunt down scoring units. They're a great option for taking that out, because then once you've taken out a few, who cares if these guys die? They still have to fight them, because anyone who's not in a 2-up save is going to get shredded. these guys are strong. I like them. All right,
I agree.
that takes us to the Phalanx Warder Squad.
I guess I got this one since
Yep.
Dan really wants those terms.
No, the Huscarls are super
Alright.
cool. I'm totally taking them.
So the Phalanx Warders. It's a 10-man unit at 225 points. It's got the standard Marine stat line all the way across the board. They're all armed with bolters and bolt pistols and power axes and a boarding shield, frag grenades, crack grenades, breaching charges, power armor. So essentially, so far, they are just breacher Marines. It's just a breacher squad, but they also have a power axe for an extra 70 points. But what else do they get? They get shield wall and lockstep. Going through those real fast. Shield wall. Models in the unit with boarding shields, which are base contact with at least 2 other models with boarding shields. They're not falling back or pinned. Get +1 to their invulnerable saves to a maximum of a 3-up. Friendly models with the Imperial character rule that join them also benefit from the rule so long as the unit contains at least 3 models with shield wall special rule. So your Praetor in this squad with his 4-up base invul goes to a 3-up, even if he doesn't have a shield, which is really nice. Like, already, it's a phenomenal unit, because one of the things about Breachers is that, yes, having a vulnerable save is nice, but it's going to get chewed through. This is only a 5-up. Going to a 4-up is very nice. Lockstep. If unit contains at least 3 models with the Lockstep special rule, and it's not locked in combat, all friendly models in that unit gain a bonus of +1 weapon skill for the duration of any assault phase in which the unit is successfully charged by 1 or more enemy units. So, you get charged, you get extra weapon skill, which means it's harder to get hit and easier to hit. So they're a great rock unit. For unit options, you can take up to 10 extra guys at 20 points a model. 1 and 5 could have a combi weapon, which is an interesting option. A flamer, a melta-gun, a plasma gun, or go all out on the close combat. You can take a thunder hammer on 1 and 5 guys. You could take a Vexilla, Nuncio Vox. The Sergeant could have a Power Fist, Plasma Pistol, Thunder Hammer, or Power Gauntlet. The Sergeant could take Melta Bomb, so you can take Artificer Armor, and you also have the option to give the entire unit Melta Bombs for 50 points per unit. This is something that I sorely miss from the standard Breacher squad entry, because with so many Contemptors running around, you wish you had Melta Bombs on squads. You get charged by Contemptor, you're hitting it back on 4s with 9 Melta Bombs if you're still alive. That's insane. You are killing a Contemptor. This is how you counter them, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you counter Contemptor spam. Just spam these assholes.
The one thing in their profile is their leadership is 1 better than standard Marines, because they're 8-9. Yeah. Otherwise, they're the same, but they're 1 better.
I missed that. I auto-filled in. Well,
yeah. Which is absolutely useful because these guys want to stick.
Yup. Other things they could do that other breachers can't do. They could take a Rhino. I don't know if you realize this, but normal breacher Marines cannot have a Rhino. They only get the Land Raider Proteus, which these guys also have, and the Termite, which these guys also have. And having a Rhino is actually huge for opening up options, because it's a cheap unit you use to boost their speed. Because the Rhino could go flat out, but these guys cannot run. So I would, without hesitation, take a 10-man squad of these guys
extra 35 points.
I thought you were all about not taking 10-mans. What the? Wait a minute.
But they could go in a Rhino, Dan. They could have a Rhino. They could go so fast. I've been playing a lot of games with my Breacher squad, and I was not enjoying them until I put them in a Termite, because the Termite got some, arrive from reserves up like the Underminer from below the ground. Because that fixes their mobility issue. But it's 80 points, and I can't go to my game store and go, yes, I'd like to buy 1 Termite Assault Drill, please. I can go, hey man, you got any of those Rhinos in stock?
And
everyone has Rhinos.
Yeah.
And if you don't have Rhinos, you could get Rhinos easily.
And this unit doesn't care about charging. They're better if they get charged. So they'd rather get up, stand out for a turn, potentially bolter some people down, go stand on the objective or just get themselves in the way. And either you charge them, I get better and I shoot you coming in. Or if not, maybe then I do charge you out because I do have, Power X, I do have options. I could charge you still. And since I have bolt pistol, I get that extra attack in the following round. Oh, yeah, you're right.
No, because you have the
you
boarding
don't
shield.
get that.
You have the boarding shield. Yep.
True.
But you have the Thunderhammer option, which is phenomenal. I like the Thunderhammer option a lot, if only because it means you now have some high-strength weapons outside of challenges. Because you'll often find that your Sergeant, the Thunderhammer, or the Power Fist is stuck in a challenge against a random Sergeant or a random Bodyguard, and he can't mow down units the way a Thunderhammer can employ to its full potential. This guy, he's just swinging and knocking stuff down. It's great. But again, Meltaguns, also solid. Just everything about this unit is a good option. Yeah. I would take this. I would use this everywhere. And what's disgusting is that you absolutely can use this everywhere because Rites of War let you do that. It's normally fast attack.
Oh, one of the Rites of War, what makes it a troop? Got it.
Yup.
That's what I was about to say. Because if you make them line, now I really like them.
Yeah, so I also believe that Rite of War lets them re-roll their invulnerable save.
Yup. You could also
it's a whole lot of nonsense.
You could also upgrade any unit to Deep Strike, any infantry rather.
So
you can Deep Strike these guys too if you really want to.
Their invul save. They get if they have the Deep Strike rule, then they get shrouded when they're deployed.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at. Sorry, sorry, I mixed up in Rites of War. I was looking at Hammerfall.
This is Hammerfall. This is Stone Gauntlet.
But they also also troops in Stone Gauntlet.
So if you remember at the beginning of the podcast, I was talking about, hey, I kind of want to mention this Rite of War, and Steve was like, please no, dear God, this is the Rite of War I wanted to mention. There's a specific Rite of War that might throw the power dynamic a little too far, but the Stone Gauntlet essentially makes your Warden Squadron's troop choices and line, right? Which is fine. That's cool.
Hold on. There's more, Dan.
Yeah.
They also gain Heart of the Legion. So
oh my Jesus Christ!
So that's the tactical squad rule for each zone.
They also get a 5 of feel no pain on their
No, six up. But it stacks with Apothecary, so 4 up. And
that's not even what makes them powerful. Apparently, when you have a boarding shield and you're a coherency with at least 2 other models that fit this criteria, you get to re-roll all your failed and vulnerable saves against shooting attacks or attacks made in the fight sub-phase. You can't run, charge, or sweep, but you stick a 20... Are they 10 or 20, man? Let me scroll down real quick. Can you take 20 man? Yeah, take a 20-man Warder Squad with an Apothecary and put them on an objective. They will never fucking move ever again. I don't know how to remove that squad.
That's all.
Other than instant deathing them. Yeah. But it's just, it's literally they become... Yes. Also, I think if they charge with Hammer of Wrath, I want to say?
Yeah, Hammer of Wrath.
Who gives a shit? Rerollable and vulnerable save with a 6 of Feel No Pain. Or a 4 of Feel No Pain if you get the
It's oh my god.
That's why I did want to mention the Rite of War. Only for that reason, to be quite honest.
It's so good.
Because it's insane.
The only downside is you have to use you can't use any kind of alternate deployment schemes, but that's fine. You throw squads and rhinos and they just drive up, get out, bam, I'm here. What are you to do about it? It's so good. It is so good. And this unit's just a good unit. And I think we can move on from this abomination of rules writing. Dan.
Yeah, the Huscarls. All right, so these guys are really cool in my opinion.
So hold on. So Huscarls, the next unit. It's the Terminator Squad. They're from the not the Legacies, but the Exemplary Battles units.
Templar units, yeah.
From the update document.
The reason I like the Huscarls, I will point out a side note, is because they remind me of Custodius Header on Guard. They're not as cool as them, but they remind me of what I can do with them. So the Huscarls are 275, so they are. I think
that's about
that
the high. That's the high end
points of a
for the prices
unit?
for the unit of 5 in general.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we got the higher, but I think it's the highest end. All right. Movements, they're in cataphracti armor, so they're move 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, strength and toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, not that matters in a second, 2 attacks, leadership 8 and 9, and 2 up save, obviously, because they're cataphracti. They are armed with power weapons and a vigil storm shield. They are stubborn, relentless, bulky 2, the iron bulwark, which we'll talk about in a second, the Huscarl retinue, which, I mean, I'll just wrench in that real quick, they're a retinue squad. And they can deep strike natively. So we're going to pull that. Now, each additional Huscarl is 50 points a pop, which is... I think that's the highest edition.
No, for the ones that are high, it is that. Like my Cenobium are 50 points. And remember, the Death Guard are 70 each. Yeah.
Oh, really? Holy shit. All right. So they are 50 points a pop. However, in my opinion, they're going to be 60 points a pop because any Huscarl or any Huscarl with a power weapon master can take a Solarite Power Gauntlet for 10 points a pop. The Iron Bulwark, what that allows is that if any unit with at least 3 models with the Iron Bulwark special rule is not locked in combat, all friendly models in that unit, including those without the Iron Bulwark special rule, gain the Battled Hardened 1 special rule for the duration of any assault phase in which the unit successfully charged one or more enemy units. So,
yeah.
Oh, by one or more enemy units. I think that I love this squad for multiple reasons. One, they want to get charged, which someone might not want to charge you, so screw it, you charge them. You give them Solarite Power Gauntlets, because wait, when it says power weapon, that means what? Power sword, power axe.
Yeah, power lance.
Power maul, power lance.
Power lance. Oh, the power lance might be good too. Actually, power lance might be really good. They come stock with the Vigil Storm Shield, so they have a 3-up invulnerable save. You give them Solarite Power Fists, so now they're Strength 10 AP 1. Just, oh my god, these guys, like, I don't know what survives them other than a Contemptor. Because Contemptors survive pretty much anything. But yeah, no, they're very, there's not much to talk about them because they're so simple, in my opinion. They do what they do and they do it well. That's about it. Like, I don't mean to, like, shit on them. I'm not shitting on them. There's not me, like, being like, oh, they're awful. It's just, they're good.
The reason you're going to that is because they don't have... A lot of times the special, like, Terminator-style unit have, like, a giant list of rules. These guys don't. A lot of the rules are reasonably standard, like, cataphracti rules with the extras of you get or / can take your special war gear, which they don't always get, which is great. And Iron Bulwark is a nice, straightforward rule. They don't have some of these other ones where it's like, hey, here's, a page full of other special stuff. Like, no, these guys are just straight up and down good.
Yeah. And you stick them with the hell's his name? The Warlord trait that we were talking about before. The Solar Warder?
Yes.
Solar Marshal. Stick with Solar Marshal, like, and they're a retinue for him. Now the weapons go 6.
Yes.
So, like, yeah, this squad is like the epitome of what a bodyguard squad should be, until we get to Fire Drakes, of course. Fire Drakes look at this and they're like, hold on a second, sir. We're just better. But no, these are really good. And especially if, take them with Solarite Power. What is it? I know you were big on Power Lances. What is that again, Steve? If you charge, what happens?
So you just flat out gain 1 bonus initiative and you're swinging at AP 3. That's all it is. But swinging at initiative 5 means you're cutting down most enemies before they swing.
Yeah, that's a nice...
Thinning out their numbers.
But
there's no rend and there's no breach.
Yeah, so here we go.
You hit AP2 and you're hitting a wall.
I don't know how crazy... I don't know why if this is crazy or not, but this is literally a direct relation to my Custodes. Because when you take Custodes, I usually would take 2... Well, you can't mix spears and shields. You could in 40k. I don't know why you couldn't in 30k. But let's just say 40k. in 40k, I would take 2 spears and 1 shield. The spears had less AP, a little bit higher strength than the sword, but they weren't as defensive. And then the sword and shield was just weaker melee-wise, but is stronger defensively. Here, it comes with 5? Right, it comes with 5. I would take, I'm going to say 2 power lances and 3 fists. Wait, are power lances two-handed? Can they be taken with a shield?
They are not two-handed.
Yeah, so I would take 2 power lances to every 3 shields, to every 3 fists, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason for the other ones, because if it's something heavy, you're not getting anything good out unless you're striking at the unwieldy for your power gauntlet anyway, so that's fine. But the lances are going to help you in case you happen to hit someone who does have 3-up armor, so you can carve through some of them before they end up swinging into you. Because that's probably what hurts these guys. Okay, you got a 3-up invul, 2-up armor save, but if I get enough attacks in before you get to do anything, I can start whittling you down. Like, that's why I find it's killed my Terminator so far. It's usually not the big powerful hits, it's all the rest of it. So being able to take out a few of those guys early, or at least swinging at the same time as them, as say one of your Centurions or something like that, is very good. Like the sword and all that's not going to do you any good anyway. Might as well take the initiative bump. And then you'll still keep them to just about 300 points, which isn't too bad. 0 to 1, yes. Front of me.
Is this a 0 to 1 unit? Okay, yeah. And no, it's a nice pick. How do they compare to a standard unit equipped the same?
Yes.
So a normal Cataphractii is 175, right? Teleporters is 25 for the unit. So now we're at 200.
Okay.
And how many points is it for the shield again? Another.
For a Cataphractii,
I got it right. I got it right here.
10 for Cataphractii. So for 0 points, you are getting extra weapon skill.
For 25 extra points.
Is that right?
Yeah.
0 points, you get extra weapon skill.
25 extra.
Oh, for 25 extra points,
yeah.
You're getting weapon skill.
The power. It's power. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
So 25 points, you get an extra. I think the
special rules for weapon skill. It's worth it.
Is the fist cheaper for them?
Yeah, it's
so
just
normally 10 per model.
Okay, so it would normally be 10, so it's the same. Okay.
But it's normally 5
for turn
as an upgrade of a power fist, which is 10 on a normal Terminator.
Of a power fist. So this is cheaper.
If you were
trying this is actually cheaper.
No, so if you were going to upgrade them all to power fists, these guys pay the same for their better weapon than a power fist. They're paying less for the power gauntlet than another unit who's allowed to take a power gauntlet does, but they're essentially paying the actual power fist cost. So they are for 25 more points, an extra weapon skill, extra leadership, I think, as well, right? Isn't the 8-9? Yeah, Cataphractii is normally 7-8. These guys are 8-9. So an extra weapon skill, an extra leadership, and a better invul save, with the chance of some different weapons and all. So, I mean, I would pay an extra 25 points to get my squad of 5 guys to be 3-up invul for sure. Oh, yeah, you're right. My apologies. Yeah, we did factor that in. Okay, so we factored that in. So 25 extra points for an extra weapon skill and extra leadership. And things like stubborn instead of inexorable and all.
Yeah, they're very points sufficient.
Yeah, like I said, again, they remind me of Custodians, and people have done some really good conversions for these, by the way. I will point out, they didn't run them as, obviously, this is a Huscarl squad, so no one ran them as a Huscarl back in 1.0 because that didn't exist until the very end, right? When they did the exemplary units, so no one knew what they were. But these are very good. I don't know how to phrase this. Sorry, English is going to be a hard sentence in a couple seconds. So, people used to run, Cataphractii with fist and shield, right? This is a really good. Hey, no longer are these guys Cataphractii with shield and fist. Yeah. Now they're Huscarls.
You're just swapping them out and calling them this name instead of that name. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Because I know people used to take them with fist and shield, because that was kind of what you did. I feel like one of their special characters has a fist and a shield, and I'm like losing my damn
Pollux.
mind.
Pollux. Alexis Polux.
Pollux, it is Pollux. Okay, I'm losing my damn mind because I'm like, I know there's a special character with, but yeah, no. So this is for people who have like that unit already made. Just take Huscarls. I mean, it's 0 to 1.
Well, it's 0 to 1 because
but honestly, like,
one,
bro,
it would be too much if it wasn't. But also, they're not the only one that have that 0 to 1. The really good units in this exemplar unit thing are 0 to 1. You know, because like the Iron Warriors one is also 0 to 1, and that one was really good. The Ember Children one is 0 to 1. That one's very good. So, yes.
Basically, the bodyguard units are 0 to 1. Because it's like the personal attendants of the Primarch.
Yeah.
You only have one Primarch, so we get one.
All right, that takes us to our first special character, which is Sigismund. Does anyone care who takes Sigismund?
I'll take him.
I'll throw so much dirt on his name if I do. Don't let me do it.
No, I'll take the man, the myth, the legend. Honestly, oh man, Sigismund.
Heretic.
Yeah. So real quick, again, Sigismund. For those who don't know the lore, is one of the very first people to the irony is that he kind of started believing in the God Emperor, and it's such a word bearer thing. For those who don't know, this is not going to be. When this is a spoiler, but this is a spoiler of when the Horus Heresy start.
Over 10 years old.
So no, I'm talking about like the first or second book. Yeah, this is a spoiler of the first or second book. So honestly, guys, like this is not if there's a spoiler, skip 15 seconds. If not, like come on now, it's 10, 15 years. Now of course I just said that, now the freaking name escapes my brain. What the hell's the Levitico Divinicus? Leviticus?
Latitio Divinatus.
There we go. Latitio Divinatus, the holy book in 40k that calls the God Emperor the God, right? That was made by the word bearers. Like they got their home planet raised for even like doing this. Sigismund picks up this book and is like, oh yeah, totally, I love this. Let's call him a god. So it's funny, the irony of him using like super traitorous shit later on. But anyway, sorry. Sigismund, 230 points. He is the duel master, one of the better characters in 30k for dueling. Movement 7, weapon skill 7. That's a hefty thing. Ballistic skill 4, strength 4, toughness 4, 4 wounds, initiative 5, attacks 4, leadership 10, and a 2-up save. Because he's got artificial armor, he has an iron halo, so he's got a 4-up invulnerable. He has the black sword, which is a specialized weapon he uses. He has a mastercrafted bolt pistol. Who cares? Frag grenade, and a crack grenade. I should point out that the black sword is not a specialist weapon, so you do get +1 attack for having a bolt pistol and a black sword.
One issue, it's two-handed.
It is two-handed? Oh, okay, good. Okay. All right, I just wanted to check. I knew it wasn't specialist. I didn't know it was two-handed. Okay, that's fine. So he's still got 4 attacks. He is an independent character, master of the Legion. He's fearless. He is Eternal Warrior, which I think the first Eternal Warrior we've had on the podcast so far.
Yeah, who's not a primary.
No, wait, what? Oh, I didn't know that. So yeah, for those who don't know, Eternal Warrior is, because we haven't come across it, Eternal Warrior is immune to instant death. Now you might be saying, oh, does he take D3 like a Contemptor does? No, he's immune. He takes 1. he just, you hit him with a Solarite Gauntlet and he goes, okay. He has Adamantine Will 3+, so he's got the 3+ invulnerable save against psychic powers that affect him. He's Dolorous Fighter, Dolorous Fighter. He's Death's Champion. These are all special rules. That will come back. Precision Strikes 3+. So on the hit, on a 3-up, he chooses who he hits. He's got Slayer of Kings as the Warlord trait, and he's a Loyalist, which, of course. So, Slayer of Kings is his Warlord trait. If Sigismund is your army's Warlord trait and slays the enemy Warlord in the challenge, Sigismund controlling player gains +1 victory point in addition to a gain to any mission objectives. And I had to look at this before, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's not a Slay the Warlord in the missions. I was kind of as you were talking before, Steve, I was really quickly running through the missions. I don't think there's not a Slay the Warlord.
But remember, when GW did their open day not too long ago, they didn't run any book missions. And they had their own secondaries. So their secondaries might have had it, or might not have had it. So they're future-proofing it.
Sure. But I was just saying, so it normally, yes. So normal missions, this is basically +2 victory points if you slay the Warlord in a challenge, because you slay the Warlord and also this. And all units in the same army of Sigismund that include at least one model with the Legion Astartes Imperial Fist special rule may add +1 to the total number of wounds caused in each combat for the purposes of determining assault result for the rest of the battle. So this is after you kill the Warlord, by the way. You get +1 to the total number of wounds caused in each combat. This does not stack with any other rule that increases the assault result. In addition, you may make an additional reaction in the movement phase. So, I like this Warlord trait. It's simple. I mean, it's long. It is long, but it's simple. You kill the Warlord in the challenge, you get an extra victory point, so that's 2 in your pocket, and the rest of your army now has +1 to the total number of wounds caused in each combat when you determine who won the assault. I mean, I can't say anything more about it. It's just
let's
good.
see about the rest of his rules. Let's put them all
you
together.
guys disagree or agree?
Yeah, let's see them all.
All right. Oh, okay. I was gonna say if you want to. So, Death's Champion. Sigismund in any unit he joins gains a bonus of +2 to all charge distances and sweeping advance rolls made for the unit. In addition, if Sigismund is present in any detachment, then the detachment may take Templar Brethren squads as troop choices. All right, so you can take them as troop choices, and you get +2 to charge and +2 to sweeping. Remember that this is not independent. This is independent of Crusade. So if he's like, let's say, in a Templar Brethren unit, right? It'll be +2, and then you roll. What is it? 2d3. Choose the highest.
But 2d6 is the standard roll. Or sorry, d6 is the standard roll.
Oh, looking at a 7 plus d6.
Yeah.
Pick the higher of 2.
Yeah,
You will sweep whenever you beat.
Like, I don't want to be mean, but you will sweep. What's really weird is that, well, I'll talk about that later when we talk about Sigismund. So let's keep going. So Mr. Sigismund, is also a Dolorous fighter. When a challenge is issued in any combat that includes Sigismund controlling player must always accept that challenge with Sigismund. If the opposing player does not issue a challenge, then Sigismund's controlling player must do so and must nominate Sigismund to fight in the challenge. So basically always, you're either accepting or giving challenges. Additionally, when fighting the challenge, successful and vulnerable saves against Sigismund's attacks must be re-rolled. And last but not least, the Black Sword. Black Sword is insane. It is a melee weapon, +2 strength, AP2, two-handed, instant death, just straight instant death, mastercrafted. So, my thoughts on Sigismund for 5 seconds. Well, not 5 seconds, but he's amazing. He does what he, like, he is, I think he's even stronger than Karn, because Karn doesn't have Eternal War. I think he is probably the strongest combat character
he's a late
outside of a Primarch in 30k. Yeah, he's just alone for Eternal Warrior for now. But the fact that you get 2 victory points for killing the Warlord, 1+1. You get +2 to charge rolls. So that's in addition to how fast the unit is moving, of course. The invulnerable saves get re-rolled against his attacks, which are all instant death, by the way. Like, literally all the stacks are instant death. They're mastercrafted, so you get to re-roll one of the hits of him usually hitting on a 3. Because I think Praetors are 6. I don't think we even hit a weapon skill. I don't think we hit a weapon skill 7 non.
I don't think so.
Praetor yet, too. I think, yeah.
Or the Dark Angels, I think, was.
But yeah, it was not even yet. So he's got a very high weapon skill. So he's going to be hitting on 3s, re-rolling one of the attacks. He also makes Black Templar troops. Now, I do want to mention, again, a Rite of War we didn't mention was the Templar Assault. If you take Templar Assault, your Templar Brethren are already troops. And they gain Line and Heart of the oh my God, Heart of the Special Legion, Jesus. They gain Line and Heart of the Legion special rules. All right. On top of that, if you disembark, right? Yeah, they disembark, they get Rage 2. So they get, I think that's what, 2 extra attacks? Yes.
Yeah.
So instead of 1 bonus charge attack, they get 2 bonus charge attacks.
They disembark, yeah.
They get 1 extra.
Of course, there are limitations, as always, to any of these rights, but it's kind of weird that he says, I guess, in case you don't want to take the Rite of War, but you still want to make Templars troops, it works. But I feel like if you're taking Sigismund with Templar Brethren, you're going to be taking that Rite of War anyway. But no, I think he's probably the deadliest character in the book, bar none.
Yes.
Besides Primarchs.
And he's so cheap.
He's so cheap. 230 points for all this. He literally looks at other Primarchs or other.
He'll fight a Primarch well.
I mean, he's only got 4 wounds, but even against other Primarchs,
he may not win the fight, but he'll do well against them. Yeah, even with that, because like the instant death doesn't go off, but other than that, like he is going to wound because instant death causes an auto wound, right?
Not that
okay,
I know.
Okay, so you do have to wound
be able to
on
wound,
it. Okay,
yeah, you have to be able to wound. Yeah. But he becomes strength 6, which is like he's just good. I mean, I like I said, if you are in combat, like people are like, oh, Karn kills this, Karn does that, but even if Karn goes against Sigismund, Karn's dead. There's no hope for Karn. It's just this guy is the single deadliest character in the book. When in a challenge though, but he's got to accept challenges. And it's funny because people are like, oh no, he's in a challenge. What if like I don't kill him and he hits me with a power fist, right?
You kill him before.
It's okay, you're Eternal Warrior. Who gives a shit? Well, no, I know, but I'm saying, let's say you miss everything. Let's say dice happen, right? And the Praetor comes back with a power fist. He's hitting you on 5s, first of all, so hilarious. But let's say he gets 2 through, and you save only 1. It's okay, you're not dead, because you're not battle hardened. You're Eternal Warrior. You don't care.
Yeah, there's very little to say about him. He's exceptionally good. If you're taking Imperial Fists and you are fine with taking characters, because I know some people are weird about characters. If you're fine with taking characters, he's a great character to take. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
He also looks cool. I will point that out. He does actually. He's one of the so like they're very hit and miss with not their Primarch. Well, Primarchs sometimes are hit and miss, but definitely the like special characters are very hit and miss sometimes. I will say I actually love the way Sigismund looks. That stance, the way he's challenging you, his face looks great. The sword looks and just everything about that screams like come at me. So, 10 out of 10, you know?
He's really good. Like I said, not much to say. It makes it nice and simple.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's so weird because he's got a lot of special rules, but he's just good.
But he's not complicated.
He's just a good guy.
There's usually a lot to say when someone is very complicated. He's not complicated. He is a missile. You point him at anything that you want to challenge and die. Obviously, it's better if he can get to the Warlord, but even if he can't, okay, you don't get your extra 1 point. You can still point him at any other unit, and he's going to do great. And if you don't want him in the challenge, if there is a challenge, he must do it. Yeah, so he's not going to get that option. So he fights in the challenge, and afterwards, if they're still around, okay, then carve through the rest of the unit. Or you might have run them down because you have a +2, and you're probably winning the combat. Since all of your attacks are instant death, you're going to get a lot of extra combat res.
Yeah, remember, in challenges, the extra wounds don't vanish. They become combat resolution modifiers.
Absolutely. So if you kill Praetors are
3
4 wounds? No, 3 wounds.
In Cataphract or Terminator style armors.
Oh, okay. Let's just use normal. Normal Praetors are 3 wounds. Let's say you get 3 wounds through. I believe that's 9 combat reps.
I think it would be 5, 3 that is lost, and then 2 extras because we don't know how many wounds that would be.
No, each. So
right, but it's not that each. But we.
Oh, that's a weird one here. But it's each one reduces him to 0. So you go from 3 to 0 each time.
No,
unless you go 3 to 0 and then 1.
What you're doing is
that's how I understand.
To actually look up the rule and see the exact wording. It's not the instant death.
I have instant death. I actually have instant death.
Essentially, it's challenges and how they word what happens there. That's the rule that you would need. Because we know instant death reduces you to 0 wounds. That's what instant death does. What would happen is it matters in a challenge, the actual wording on it. I don't know if we can find it quickly, or I don't even know if it matters. Like, I mean, he's going to win.
Fun fact, it's not in the assault phase. I was just there. Challenges are not done in the assault phase. Or it's done in the assault phase, but it's not in the part of the book that's the assault phase. So I'm like, thank you.
It's in the character section.
No, I just passed the character section. That's also a no. Because characters right before vehicles.
It's literally the second page of characters.
Unless it like skipped.
It's assault result.
It did. It did skip.
Unsaved wounds caused in a challenge counterwards the assault result, including any excess wounds caused.
That doesn't
alongside any unsaved wounds caused. It's not. So it's not. Oh, I did 10 instant death hits. Each count is 12. It's you killed the guy. He lost 3 wounds. He took 3 unsaved wounds. And then you also got 2 more unsaved wounds in there.
Yeah.
But they only
that's
the way
that makes sense. I make that interpretation. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have a
It's
problem.
still really good. It's still
really good. Ain't good. Yeah, I was gonna say.
He will also rip apart a dreadnought because of that.
A contemptor.
Oh, not a contemptor, a dreadnought. Yes, a dreadnought.
No, he can kill a contemptor. If you want to make sure he does it, just have a destroyer squad charge the same thing, debuff toughness by 1 with rad grenades, and then really just rip it to shreds for sure.
Like, I mean, because he's going to hit on 3s. Yeah, even if you don't debuff it, it might be on 5s, but any one of those is instant death. If it doesn't make its invul save, you're doing D3 damage each. I've done enough of this with a Tyrannic Greatsword to tell you that's how I take down contemptors. And I'm looking for my instant death rule, essentially murder strike, to be occurring on 5-ups as well. So he'll still carve one down. He'll still do just fine.
Very good. All right, who's doing Beefcake Alexis
Polux? We have 2 characters.
Another good model, by the way. I should point out.
Do you care which one, Steve?
Another.
All right. I'll take Polux then. Why not?
Particularly.
So he's the captain of the 405th Company. He has 185 points. Move 7 standard. Weapon skill 6. Ballistic skill 4. He's actually strength 5, so he's a little bit stronger. He's a beefcake apparently. Toughness 4. He's got 3 wounds, initiative 5, 3 attacks, leadership 10, 2-up save. So, Master of the Legion, as we'll see. So he's essentially sort of Praetor style stat line with a couple differences there. The extra strength is the big thing. He's got his Artificer armor and his Iron Halo. He comes with the Solarite Power Gauntlet base and the Vigil Storm Shield. So he's got all the specials from this Legion. He's got a Combi Melta, which is nice. Nothing wrong with that. And he's got his grenades. I said he's an independent character. He's got the Master of the Legion. He has Void Commander. He comes with Deep Strike. He has Hammer Blow. Loyalist, obviously. And his Warlord trait is Master Tactician. So if he's your Warlord, he has to have this trait. After all models are deployed, but before any rolls to seize initiative are made, the controlling player of Alexis Polux may redeploy 1 friendly unit within the limitations of the mission being played. So you can put someone else in your deployment zone wherever you like. This may be a unit that has been deployed normally into reserves or bring a unit out of reserves. So you can take a unit to take them off the board into reserves or one of your units that's in reserves and put them out. But it may not add or remove units that have been assigned to a deep strike assault, drop pod assault, flanking assault, or subterranean assault. In addition, an army with him as your warlord gets an extra reaction in the assault phase. So, very useful. There's been plenty of times when I'm set to say go first. I put down my army, and then you're able to very well counter it. Okay, well now at least I can move 1 thing to reposition and get in a better spot. And it's before the seize initiative, and I've finally started having games where the seize wasn't always happening. I think now in like 7 games I've played, there's been a corrected seize, either me or the other player, like 4 out of the 6 or 7. He's a Void Commander. So controlling player may opt to automatically pass or fail any pinning test made for him and any unit that he joins. In addition, all models in the unit that Alexis Polux joins while in reserves, and they give you where to look at it, gain the deep strike rule. So if he's just with a unit, they can deep strike. They don't have to have the ability to deep strike. He will give it to them, which opens up a lot of options of where you could put this guy. because you can put him in deep strike because he has the ability and he just transfers it to them for nothing. And he has hammer blow. So this is his weapon. It is a strength 10 AP1. Oh, sorry. So during any fight subphase, let me just part first. During any fight subphase, Alexis Polux, a controlling player, may choose to have him make a single attack with a profile blow instead of attacking normally. This better do something crazy because he already has a strength 10 AP1 Solarite Gauntlet. So you can do a hammer blow, strength 10 AP1. Armor Bane, which is good. Flesh Bane. Exosock 6-up. Exosock is an extra on that value.
Extra penetrating, automatic
So if you roll a
penetrating hit
6.
on the value. Yes.
If you're the hammer blows if you're going against like I guess a really heavy vehicle. If you're going against a Land Raider, I might swap out one swing at strength 10 with Armor Bane rather than several attacks at strength 10 where I'm needing 5s.
Well, you're losing. Listen, you're losing what?
Yes.
2 attacks? I would because you were talking about how big Armor Bane was on a chain fist.
It's not a guarantee.
If you really,
but you're pretty close to going to make sure that you get your that you get a pen, and then you're looking at 1/3 of the time on that pen blowing it up. So I that's the one time I would use it. But otherwise, I mean, this guy looking him over, he's a really good utility piece. I mean, if you're not wanting to take Sigismund because either one, it just doesn't fit your style, it doesn't fit what you want to do, or two, maybe you look and be like, he's maybe a little too much. This guy's great because he'll let you redeploy a unit, which can be very powerful. It's more powerful if you're going first than second, but it does at least still give you that option. So it's really good if you're going first. He gives a unit deep strike. So you can work now with a unit that might have been more difficult to do. In your army, you had abilities to hand that out a lot easier, but you still have that as an option. And he's got that extra base. As extra base strength then doesn't really do you much in this particular case because none of his weapons care about his strength because the Solarite's just an automatic strength 10. It's not like a double.
I mean, it's protection. It's protection against graviton.
It's something.
I guess.
No, I don't. I haven't read that much in terms of, or as read up as I should be on this stuff.
This is the guy from the Battle of Fall. Essentially, he was on a fleet that was supposed to go to the drop site massacre, right? But it got rerouted in the warp. And instead it pops out and it shows up over at Perturabo. When after the drop site massacre, and they have a battle over Fall, and Polux manages to board Perturabo's flagship and fight his way all the way to the command room. This is the incident that causes the Dominator cohort to lose their favor with Perturabo.
Oh,
and yup, and
super interesting.
He is the Crimson Fist, so his company goes on to found the Crimson Fists, and everyone, the big lore discussion about him is if he wasn't, because mid battle he was recalled to Terra by Dorn. If he wasn't, how far could he have pressed that attack against the Iron Warriors in space that day? That's the big, could he have done it? Could he have taken out one of the Traitor Legions? But Dorn had to fuck it up. So, -1 point, Dorn.
Just spiteful.
I didn't realize he was. I didn't realize he was the one who started the Crimson Fist, but that kind of actually makes sense. For those who don't know, we're not looking at the model right now. The model is literally him standing on. Oh, that's why he's got the Iron Warrior thing.
To that light.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it's all coming together.
Imagine telling a story through your models posing and basing instead of just putting them on a rock and going, "Isn't this so cool?" He has a rock.
Rock.
I love his base so much.
Put them on very tactical rocks. That's what you do, not normal rocks.
I also just realized that I was like, where the hell does he stick his melt-a-gun? Like, I don't.
It's underslung. It's under the fist.
Underslung gun under his fist. I was like, where the hell is this multi-gun on him? And I turned them all around. I'm like, oh, hello. Oh, this is a cool model too. Jesus. And even the writing on the legs is pretty great. But it makes sense that he becomes the first Crimson Fist because are the Crimson Fist the left arm is red or is it the right arm? I think it's the left, right?
I
think it's both.
Yeah, let's go with
I'm pretty
both.
sure it's both.
Left,
What's the
sure.
Crimson Fist? No,
I
it's
don't
the left
remember,
arm.
honestly.
It's the left arm.
It's okay.
Or left hand, not left arm. Sorry. Left hand, I should say. Interessante. That's pretty damn cool. I could see someone buying this and using
I'm
it
sure
as
people
like
have.
their Crimson
Absolutely,
Fist
I'm sure they
40k
do.
dude. As like Pedro Cantor.
Yeah, no, he's cool. He's like the one Imperial Fist. I'm like, yeah, he's okay. I could tolerate his existence.
Oh, he's cool.
All right. Steve, why don't you tell us about Fafnir Rann, who was one of the newer models?
This is the newest. This is, I think, the newest
Him
named
and
character
the
in the
Blood
game
Angel guy.
that actually has a model. He was introduced. Yup. He was introduced. Fafnir Rann was introduced to the gaming wise at the very end of the last edition as the latest Black Library Celebration model. I don't know his lore that well, but I do know that he's a newer model and he looks like a space wolf, and he ends up being the guy that founds the Executioner's chapter. So he is a he's a Praetor stat line. With Artificer armor, bolt pistol, frag and crack grenades, and iron halo. So all up just very basic. And then he has the headsman and the hunter, and a boarding shield. He's a unique character. He's heavy, so no run moves with this gentleman. And then for special rules, he's obviously a loyalist Imperial Fist independent character. He's a master of the Legion. He has Shield Master, which is a new rule. Executioner's Tax, which is a new rule. He has Hammer of Wrath. And he gets his own personal warlord trait called the Unbroken Wall, which is absolutely insane. So, the Unbroken Wall. If he's the warlord, he gets this trait. All models in any Legion Breacher squad or Phalanx Order squads in the same detachment gain a bonus of +1 to weapon skill for any assault phase where they make a charge against an enemy. Where they successfully charge an enemy unit. In addition, an army with this guidance of a warlord gets an extra reaction in the assault phase until he's been moved as a casualty. Oh, that's a force multiplier. Remember how you were like, oh, my Phalanx Order squads, like, I want them to get charged. They get the weapon skill 5. I lose the attack, but hit on 3s, right? You just take this guy. And now they're at weapon skill 5, either whether they charge or get charged.
Remember, they also get not shield. God damn it, Hammer of Wrath if they charge too. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, that already amazing start. Moving on, we have the Executioner's Tax. When an enemy unit makes a charge that places enemy models in base contact with Fafnir Rann himself, or any model of a unit he's joined, so realize the unit. That unit suffers D3 plus 3, Strength 5, AP nothing hits. They hit automatically, and the result that initiative step 10, but they don't get a pile-in move, and you don't get any special rules of the unit or Fafnir Rann. And they are allocated as normal, so basically owning player allocates. It's just a neat little, don't charge me thing.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's not world shattering, but it's nice. Next up, we have Shield Master. When Fafnir Rann is locked in combat and his controlling player has chosen to not use the single axe profile for the headsman and the hunter in that phase, all the hits inflicted by enemy models and allocated to Fafnir Rann must reduce their strength by -1. When using the twinned axe profile, the special rule grants no benefit. He's not counted as having a boarding shield for any rules that would grant him benefits for having a boarding shield, and he may ignore the rule's restriction for using weapon two-handed special rule while also having a boarding shield. Basically, it just means that he could have 2 weapons and be cool with a power axe, or he could have 1
And
weapon
a boarding shield, essentially,
and get
yeah.
boarding shield bonuses. The -1 strength thing is cool. It's weird the way it works in sequencing, but if he's in a challenge, that means that power fist goes down to strength 7.
Yes, sir.
Or a power sword is down to strength 3, which will affect wounding thresholds. So it absolutely changes like the dynamic whether or not he's in a challenge and such. Then we have his weapons, the headsman and the hunter. It's twinned axes that he's got. They're considered a single weapon with 2 profiles, one for a single attack, one for a double attack. They count as power weapons. Each fight phase, you pick one of the ways to attack with them. And if you use the single axe, so this is paired with the shield, so the strength reduction, you get +2 strength, AP2, with melee, specialist weapon, and mastercrafted. And shield master, that's part of the above thing, where he gets the strength reduction. Mastercrafted is nice.
No.
But he's not getting any bonus attacks that way. If we go with the twinned axe configuration, he only gets 1 bonus strength in AP2. Oh, but this is not unwieldy, so it's at initiative AP2. That's really nice. But yeah, twinned axe, so we use 2 axes. Only +1 strength, but it's still AP2 with melee, rampage 2.
Yes.
Which, if I remember correctly, that's when you're outnumbered, you get +1
Yeah, when you're outnumbered, you gain the number of attacks in the parentheses.
Yep. So you get 2 extra attacks if you're outnumbered. It's a specialist weapon. It's 2-handed, and it's mastercrafted. So you're facing lots of guys, you use twinned axes. You're facing, big guy, you take single axe. Pretty straightforward. Makes him a flexible combat profile.
Yes.
He's
With
nice.
the single axe, you do get a shield. I should point out.
Yeah.
Yeah, single axe, even though it's less attacks,
yeah.
you do get the bonus of a shield.
Yes, that protects you from. Yeah. It's like a fake battle hard almost with the single axe. No, he's nice. He works very well.
He does.
Yeah.
And he looks like a space wolf.
No, he don't. Wait, hold on.
This is the guy that looks like Brett.
He looks like a space wolf that's well groomed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say it.
For people who are not in our circle,
yes,
our one friend looks reasonably similar enough that anytime someone knows him and looks at it, be like, oh yeah, that's him. Where I do believe Brett has more than one copy of this guy for that reason. So because he wanted to be able to literally paint himself up. Yeah, I know he's got at least one, but I think he does actually have more than one, just so he can paint up a guy who looks like him.
I think he has 2 because he uses one as an iron. I think as an iron warrior.
Yeah.
He shaved off a lot of the markings and stuff. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He's a pretty cool model.
For those who like converting, if you pick up this model, the shield is kind of weird. It has to go on the back, and you have to have his helmet strapped onto it, if I remember correctly. But the backpack is actually perfectly fine. So if you wanted to convert him, you don't need to put the shield on the back. You can just leave that off entirely. And the iconography is surprisingly not that abundant.
No, it isn't.
So just in general,
the shoulders and the oh man, we looked up what that was on one of the first podcasts. The stupid armpit shield.
You're the history teacher. You tell us.
Oh, hold on.
Oh,
yeah, I remember that was podcast.
Yeah, you should know history.
Or
come on,
4.
Dan, you're a history guy.
No, this was such a weird rondelle. It was a rondelle. Yes. I remember such a weird, very specific thing. It's known as a rondelle. Although rondelles are round. I wonder if all rondelles are.
All right. Well, while you go look up for our other podcast, our
maybe
Dan does the history podcast here. There's one last thing to very briefly talk about.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is from their essentially legacies unit. So this is the other document that GW put out. And this is the Aetos Dios, which this is just a special Thunderhawk, right? This is 800-point Thunderhawk. Yeah, it's got 1 void shield. Thunderhawks don't normally have that. I'm comparing it to the Thunderhawk. So it's move 18, Blizzard skill 4, 12s all around 9 hull points, transports 32 guys. That's all exactly the same. The weapons are the weapon stuff's a little bit different. One has a flare shield on it, which it could take. The normal Thunderhawk's 685 with plus 50 points for a flare shield, so it's not that much costed above. The Ramjet diffraction grid is an extra 50 points if you wanted it as well. So that would make it 785 compared to this 800, so only 15 points less. The 6 Hell Strikes it's got, the 2 Last Cans it's got, some heavy bolt. So this has 4 turret-mounted heavy bolters. The normal Thunderhawk has 2 turret-mounted and 2 sponson-mounted for heavy bolters. And then this one has a turbo laser destructor. The other one has a general Thunderhawk cannon. If you want to go to the turbo laser destructor, it would be plus 90. So this is an upgraded Thunderhawk for cheaper. Because if you did all the upgrades, it would be more expensive.
And it also gets
and a void shield. Although it has,
Also gets a void shield. Should put out.
It can take macro bomb cluster if you want. Otherwise, a lot of those rules are the same for an extra 60. But the big thing is that one special rule it has is Aetos Praetoria. An army that includes Rogel Dorn may also include the Aetos Dios. If it is included in an army in this way, he has to begin the battle on it. We were talking before we started. To us, that we interpret that as meaning you have to have Rogel Dorn to use this thing. Because
this unit also exemplifies my feelings on Imperial Fists and people that play them. They need their hand held with points discounts for units and very simple rules that just solve all their problems before they show up to the table.
It took
2 hours and just about 15
how long
minutes.
has the podcast been going right now? He's been really good. No. He's been really good. He hasn't insulted Imperial Fist players the whole goddamn time.
Let's go into final thoughts. Why, Steve? Why do you hate them? What did they do to you?
Yeah. People who play Imperial Fist, Steve.
They got told good job. They got pats on the back. They got cushy jobs defending the palace. They got all the honors bestowed upon them.
They defended the palace when the other side. I agree, but let's remember the defense of the palace occurred because of the heresy. Before that, they were chugging along with the Phalanx and all of that into space.
Oh no, they were recalled before the heresy.
They were recalled before the heresy.
Book 1 of the heresy series, like Horus Rising. Sigismund he's all pouting. He's like, yeah, I can't crusade anymore because Daddy says we have to go fortify Terra.
I will point out though, slight side note about Sigismund, which is hilarious. When the Horus Heresy when Horus Heresy ends and Gilliman comes around with the book of the Codex Astartes, right? That's supposed to limit the legion size to become now chapters. And Rogel Dorn pretty much tells him to go fuck himself. He literally gives him another figure. Sigismund, being the smart ass he is, goes, wait a minute, I noticed that in the Codex Astartes, crusading chapters don't have to have a limit. And Gilliman goes, yeah. And he goes, okay, guys, we're a crusading chapter forever and ever and ever. We're not stopping crusading. And that's what the Black
Chapter. Until I was a little bit on the timeline before they got recalled. They were always the ones like literally out front doing everything they could. So they went back to what they knew the best. All right, so you hate them because you love Iron Words. Is that what it is? Okay. If you can divorce yourself from that for a moment, how do you feel about them otherwise?
Can I divorce myself from myself?
I mean, it's a very psychologist sort of question to ask, I will admit. But okay, forget they're who they are. Pretend they're painted blue. How do you feel about them?
If they're painted blue, that makes a lot of sense. It feels like they're painted blue. No, like it's a legion. They're very straightforward in how you use them. They don't have any like, aha, I snuck up on you and surprise, here's a cool thing. It's like, yeah, that's just straight up effective. There's no surprises beyond, yes, this is when I'm counter assaulting you. But you kind of know when they're going to do that anyway, because they're going to have that one unit built to do the counter assault. So it's like, okay, I know what's going to do it, and I kind of know when.
2 or 3.
Yeah. No, it's probably to be the 1 because it's honestly a gunline army that happens to have some good.
Breachers have bolters, man.
Yeah, it's a gunline army that has a good counter assault element to it.
Yeah,
it's very nicely well rounded for that reason. I mean, yeah, it's an army. You can play it. I don't think you should because they're Imperial fists.
I see,
but if you want to, I guess you can, and you can do quite well with it.
It's when people go, "Oh, what was that stupid movie that came out recently that was really crappy?"
You've given us literally nothing.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, just listen. Like people will go, Resident Evil on Netflix. Well, that was a show, but was it good? Well, it had actors in it. Yeah, but was the show good?
Plot?
It had
that
people.
Show is pretty much universally unbalanced.
This is a legion. Yeah, no, but it's just so he's like, do you like the do you like the Imperial Fists? They are a legion, sir. No, but do you like them? They do things.
No, but honestly though, like rules wise, I think they're very easy to understand.
Yes.
So it's very easy to pick them up and apply them to a very effective level. Other legions, you have to really understand rules inside and out to maximize their potential. Imperial Fists. Okay, to put it in terms of Mario Kart, right? They have a very high acceleration and like a medium maximum speed, right? So they speed up very quickly. Like the learning curve is like, oh yeah, I read the rules, I understand it. But like that's the extent of them. You learn the rules and you understand them. Other legions, you have to figure out like the tricks to them, and they build up over time, and they have a higher maximum level. But
I see when
harder
I look
to
at
reach.
I
that
see
level.
why, and we haven't gone through Sons of Horus, so we'll get the other side of the box when we get to them. I see why GW chose this as one of the 2 factions in the box. Partly, I think they might have done it because they to themselves figured out a good way to have people do yellow paint. Because to me, that might be the tough part of this. But beyond that, outside of that, they're rather straightforward. All the rules seem to work the way you think they should. Like you said, there's not a lot of tricks to it. You have a nice and easy Legion trait. Your reaction, kind of fits the sort of look of the movement reaction. It's nothing too crazy. It doesn't do a completely different thing like say Alpha Legion does or say Death Guard does, where it's like, oh, you're doing something entirely different. No, just follow what it normally would do. Get a little bit closer, you get to do this sort of thing. Your war gear, a lot of it is on, like say with the shield and the Solar Gauntlet, a lot of it's on the units that can have it, or there's very few units who can take them in addition. So it's sort of easy to pull that together. You don't have many units. You have some good characters, but you don't have many units. Like we talked about the Thunderhawk. I mean, you're probably not running the Thunderhawk, let's be honest, unless you've been, you're running that if you've been in this game for like a super long time. Otherwise, you actually have very few. You have what? 3 units, not counting one that's not even in the main book. And you have 3 special characters. So you don't even have tons and tons of options. They gave you something that you can figure out pretty quickly. You can get to the table quickly. You can get playing quickly and enjoying your game. If you can paint yellow, like I said, they now have some good contrasts and things for that. And you can find tons, if you are picking these guys up, you can find tons and tons of resources online of people showing you how to paint them well and paint them in easy schemes. So you're not spending tons and tons of time on it. And like, they have the transfer sheets and all, but in all the boxes for this stuff, you got some transfer them. So you don't even necessarily have to wait on transfer sheets. You can get some of your stuff transferred up and kind of, fancied in that way without having to do all the extras. So they picked a good choice, I think, for what they wanted to complement the other side of the box with. Dan, how about you? Do you have any other thoughts on these guys?
No, honestly, you kind of said everything that you needed to say. They are
Thank you.
No, it's like they're vanilla, and I said this before, they're vanilla, but vanilla isn't bad. A little history time. Remember, vanilla was one of the most expensive spices that they imported. And I actually wish I knew why vanilla became the plain Jane or where that story came from. I should probably do that one day just for fun. But they are vanilla, but in that vanilla, they are very spicy. You could do some very spicy things with these guys.
The
Who are
whitest thing
you,
you've ever
me?
said. This vanilla is so spicy. Oh my god.
There's a funny TikTok of some dude grilling chicken, and it's like this woman going, "Is he gonna grill the chicken? Is he gonna spice the chicken? Is he gonna spice?" He's just flipping it with no spice, and it's the fun anyway. So like, it's just they can do really awesome things, but it's very simple, awesome things. Their heavy bolter squads are going to hit like trucks because now they hit on twos. Their autocannon squads are going to hit like trucks because they hit on twos. If you take a special character because you want to, because they are, special characters are kind of the name and game of Horus Heresy, you're not going to do bad with any of the special characters. They're all good.
Oh my god, I just realized it. This Legion and most of its stuff shields you from failure.
Yeah, it makes sense. The defense
It protects you from missing your attacks with bolt weapons and auto weapons. It protects you from dying with the storm shield, and most of the character's special rules are about keeping them alive, or like just like it. It's bowling with the little bumper rails up.
But
It'll still do well.
It's still dangerous. Like, it's still like a good.
Oh yeah, you can still throw the bowling ball backwards and hit people in the crowd.
It's not the metaphor I was going for, but okay.
If you choose them, you're not going to feel like you made a mistake. There's some other legions where I say, you really want to read about them, hear about them, and maybe even try them out before you commit to it, because they might have a playstyle that you don't like, because they might really lean into certain playstyles. So when we did Emperor's Children, your whole if you're not like charging, if you're not doing certain things, why are you playing Emperor's Children kind of thing? For these guys, you can kind of play them the way you want. You're defensive, okay, yeah, but they shoot really well. Okay, you can play around in the way you want, and I don't think you're going to get a bad feel no matter what you decide. Yes, that's the other thing. Yeah, everything you currently have in plastic, including one of their special characters, which is currently really, really rare in the Heresy line right now, is for your special characters to be in plastic, and they even have one of those. So, all right, gentlemen, does that do it for us tonight? And that'll do it for us tonight. So this one was a little bit shorter than some of the other ones. It's right in line with, say, Emperor's Children, but a little bit shorter than, say, the Space Wolves, which was long, and the Dark Angels, which was also a very long one. Next week, our plan is to, again, try to get through 2 more Legions. As always, we're just going through an order. And from there, we'll see if we have additional time to talk about anything else. So far, we've wanted to get back to discussions on, hobby and how the game is actually going for us and what we think of it and all. But in order not to have even longer recording marathons / listening sessions for anyone who is, we've been skipping that for the time being. But I think very soon we're going to get back to at least a little bit of that once, so we can kind of catch up on where we are. As always, I want to thank everyone for listening. Remember, if you have any questions, anything like that, you can always reach out to us through email, which is terrainkickersnj@gmail.com. You also are more than welcome to post any questions or thoughts you have on the YouTube videos for this, because I do go through all those comments and look at them, as well as the other guys do as well. We just ask, if you find us on any podcatcher, please consider subscribing there. If you watch this on YouTube or anything like that, likes and subscribes definitely help us out a lot. The numbers have been growing very well lately. Not surprising with the type of content, as it's something that we know people are interested in seeing. But all of that really does both help us get noticed and help prove that what we're doing is worthwhile and that people actually like it. Well, that's enough of us for tonight. On behalf of everyone here at the show, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.